Kjartan, you find some slight relief as you hear the sound of men tramping up the beach behind you from where you and another crouch in the rocks, and are soon joined by the captain and some score of men from the Sjohestur. You've tracked over the wet beach up to this seaweed and shell-strewn hovel made from smooth rocks amongst like the slicked crags here. And you hear the noise as the men around you do. This Hadranger harp playing from within where you'd seen the unspeakable. And the captain and his closest bondsman close with you inside of the dwelling. And you two hear this Anthrimnir, Ygritte, and Blackhand as you go up to the scouts, this eerie tune playing out in the thrice strung Hangrander fiddle from within.
What is it? That fucking bird came and pecked at me until I came.
It's something not natural, Lord. They were skinning him. And he would have a shaking hand as he points to the hovel.
What? Skinning who? What?
I don't know. Did we ever decide on a name for him?
Eadwulf.
Eadwulf. I told the fool not to go, but he did not listen. I could not catch him.
What are you talking about? Who skinned him?
You would see that Kjartan's face is bleach white. His hands shaking. I don't know. They are covered with and he's just struggling to find the words. He looks back over there. She was beautiful, but it's something unnatural. And the old man, he just plays the tune and laughs.
Ingvar will sort of wrinkle his nose and spit. Witchcraft.
He's been like that, Lord, since he peered in where those Fae maidens walked, says the other scout with Kjartan. I dare not look.
He'll call out to three of the men and like point for them to like move around from the other side, basically. And he'll tell some others to like gather up branches, like dry branches, if they can find them.
Yeah, three men peel off to either flank around the cove. It like backs into like a rock jutting up and like peering over like that ledge down to the beach below. No other entrances can be sighted. So the men wait there while another small group comb the beach until they like clear the seaweed off some driftwood fitting enough to be a branch or two and bring it back while the men kind of mutter amongst themselves worriedly in that fashion where one on the far right flank hears like the word whispered of like skaggery and like Chinese whispers down the line.
Ingvar is like terrified that it's witches, and he doesn't want to have to deal with them or talk to them because he's afraid they might put a curse on him if he does. But he's also like well aware that if he doesn't do something and doesn't show himself to be like fearless, well, that's kind of his job. We should burn the place if they're witches. I'm going to go and try and talk to them. But if something happens, you throw those branches, you burn that building.
Why speak to them?
For Eadwulf.
Kjartan comes to his senses for just a moment. No, Lord. They wave their magic. They cast a spell with their voices. It's what they did with Edwulf. The fool lost his mind. If you go and speak with them, you will suffer the same fate. Better we just burn the building.
It was a song they sang?
It seemed as though she just spoke simple words to us. But there was something more to it. I could feel it. I was able to shake it off, but the other was not.
He nods. This sounds familiar or possible. Okay. The tale. The tale. We sing it. The tale of Lokasena, where Loki comes and insults the gods. We sing it, all of us. As loud as you can. Do not stop singing for any reason. And he'll like begin singing the song, like one of the sagas, and he'll begin like bellowing it and expecting everyone else to shout it and scream it as loud as they can.
You see movement at the door elicited by this tune picked up by the voices joining in alongside yours. The door swings inward silently. One of the bare like parts of this hovel made of like driftwood, no doubt strewn on this coast over some time. It's a fey-looking maiden to your eyes, men, as she steps out, though you see a horrid, scaly, feminine monstrous thrown up from the depths. Egret, and looking about at the men around you, you're certain they do not see as you do, as many like I wonderingly and like move their heads like a side of the helmet of the men in front of them to gawk. Halt Seawolf, who comes with wolf tooth. And foul sung song, not fitting for my father's hall, and she gestures within, where you see another similarly beautiful and enchanting maiden, you men, and another scaled beast to you, Ygritte, and a man whose handsome you could not measure against any other. Ygritte's surely like the most handsome man you've ever spied or could be told of. Whereas you men see a haggard old fisherman, hoar-frosted with ancient spume, creaking as he like draws closer towards the door, flanking his daughter wife. For a price I'd teach ye a better song, said the old man. Why interruptest us?
Ingvar is going to continue just trying to sing as loud as he can. And he's like trying to, like when he starts to hear them talk at all, like sing so loud that he can't. He's just like screaming and there's like spit flying from his mouth. And he's like turning around to look at the others to make sure that they're doing it too. And if he sees like one of them starting to like stare sort of longingly, he'll like slap him in the side of the helmet or something like that. And try and make sure that everyone is like focused on that. Above all else, he's trying to ignore them. For fear. He's like heard stories of this working before, that if you just sing loud enough and you don't engage with them, then they can't like cast their spells on you, so you can't hear them sing. And so he's trying to get them all to be singing.
Hey, the men all sing, following your lead, looking nervously between each other, and then back to the illusions yonder.
Ingvar's going to step forward then while the singing is happening, and like he'll be like thumping a spear into the ground to like keep time, and look at the rest of them, and then he's going to try and throw a spear at whatever thing is closest.
Fair maiden with blood on her chin, who gestured to the hovel behind her, would be the closest.
All right, Odin, don't fail me now.
Everyone could put a name and an initiative in the chat. How was that spear throw, Lord?
Find out. It's 16 on the die, so pretty good. It'll be +5, so 21.
It thunks through the front of her revealed belly and back out the other side. She looks down slowly, quizzically, and a foul look smears across her otherwise beautiful face. And what should be a killing shot impaled so she does not, but stands there and begins to howl in pain and wrath. What was the damage?
9, a fortuitous number.
Begotten, you see this happen. How do you react?
Kjartan's been building his courage as he yells as loud as he can, seeing his lord throw the spear and strike her and see blood upon her that emboldens him further. He thinks that this beast can be killed. He immediately marks the redheaded one, the beauty, the one that led poor Edwulf to unfortunately his death. And he quickly puts arrow to his war bow and fires a shot. Oh my gosh. So I get advantage on anything that hasn't attacked yet. So I rolled 2 18s. That's nuts. And I rolled max damage on both dice because another feature I have is Quarry. So he's marked the redheaded one. So he does an extra 1d6 damage.
Oh, nice.
So that's gonna be,
that would be Ormhild, the same one who's spear gutted by your cat.
So I imagine a 23 will hit. And that's
certainly just
8, 14, 17 damage as he fires this arrow and it strikes her solidly in the chest.
Off's wetly black ichor spills down her front. She sprouts a second missile. The scowl transforming now and all residue of beauty dripping away as the vile thing seen by a grit now is revealed to you also. A Selkie or a Selka. And from the ichor that spills from her wounds and the way that she sways and looks desperately behind her for her allies, tell her that your blade, that she's not proof against your blades and much damaged. She'll turn to you, Kjartan, who wounded her so sorely, and attempt to respond in kind. She'll send you a tormenting vision. Can you make a wisdom save, please?
$21.
A foul stink floods into your nostrils like belly of rotted fish, but you resist, turning away from her. She tries to wend her way into your mind. You resist her wiles for now. That she'll scream out in pain for her lover to come to hand, and you hear hulking footsteps from within. Ygritte, you're the next to act.
What is the layout of this land where we are? You said it's a bit scrubby, perhaps?
Rocky, and there's a coast to a large frontage of it, so that the approach is not stealthy. There are rocks to either side of the dwelling, though then it would give you only line of sight on people who are outside of the dwelling. But you could find cover there to attempt to stealth. If you wanted to stealth before this encounter began, we can do a retroactive stealth check if you hide in the rocks.
No, she'll just stand next to her brother, next to Ingvar, and she'll pull back this hunting bow that she has and strike at this Selkie, this scaled woman creature. It's a non-natural 20 to hit and 5 damage.
Another arrow sprouts from her as she quite cries out in her anguish, though it does not fell the thing.
It unnerves Ygritte, seeing the spear and 2 arrows protruding from this creature and it still stand. She wonders if they are too strong.
Ingvar, son of Balder.
He's going to scream, with me! And he's going to charge at the thing. And I'm going to attack at an action stage to hit it again. So I rolled a 4 from first attack, which misses, but I have shield fighting. When you're fighting with a shield in one hand and a weapon in the other, you can make an attack with your bonus action using your shield. And I hit that almost certainly with a 19 on the die. So that will be D4. Okay, so 4 damage from the shield. And then I will action surge to attack again. That's much better. That's a 16 all up. I think
That is the magic number. You strike.
Glory. And the shield is a 15, which misses, I think you said, right?
Yeah, just. Even though she's not clad in any armor or at all, really, she's wily and swift and eludes that blow.
Okay, so it'll be 13 damage from my strike.
The sickening crunch as some vestige inside is jarred. She reels over, near stumbling prone into the lapping sand. This foul ichor spilling from her like a waterfalls right across her body. Though still she lives in Temps of Islands.
He's tucked his Mjolnir amulet into his mouth before he ran. So he's sucking on it as he rushes up, swings their shield a bunch of times in the sword, trying to kill it. This terrible witch creature. But for now, he's just going to stand there and bellow for the rest to follow him.
Your man Yadewolf runs like a maddened she-bear out of the dwelling, naked as the day is born, with an abhorrent rune carved into his flesh, about his chest. One of his eyes completely turned inward, and he has a crazed look across his face as he witnesses his greatest betrayer attacking his true love, rushes towards you maniacally, and with both hands around his axe will try and cut you down, considering you a foeman. It's going to be a 15 to hit and a 16 to hit.
15 misses and 16 just hits.
6 slashing damage as the axe thunks through bursting mail and pillaging flesh beneath. You see the froth at his mouth flecked with pink and the manic look in his eyes, and doubt this man could hear his captain's voice. Ægir emerges from the hovel to the sounds of her screaming sister. Becoming enraged, she splays her arms out perpendicular from each other, and these dorsal fins begin to sprout and wisp out in the same membranous fashion as dragonflies. And like a flying fish, she leaps forward down into the surge of men rushing in the wake of their captain. One against so many seems fruitless until she hits and erupts with her hideous shriek. I need Anthrimnir Ygritte to make wisdom saves, a DC 14, please. And I'll roll for the men of the Sjohestur. Two fails.
Was this an audible effect?
Yep. I'm going to give you guys advantage because of the song.
I was just going to ask. Beat me to it.
And Lloyd, you don't have to roll because you rushed up.
Okay.
No, I still failed.
Did you rush up too, Kjartan?
No, he did not. So he would have to make the save too. Did you say 14 as a save?
That's right, wisdom.
Okay, so I just got 14.
Okay. So on a success, nothing. On a fail, you're stunned until the end of Ira's next turn. This horrid shrieking cuts over the din of the safe song penetrating your ears, causing like grown men to drop their weapons, clutching at their ears, some even bleeding from the ear. Looking back over your shoulder, Captain, you see 8 of your men still singing the song, rushing over the beach towards you in your melee, though a great many kneel stricken in the sand. And she in their midst. That's all she can do for now. The Sjohestur crew, those 8 will react. As a free action, you can call for them to continue to your back or to try and cut down Ira, who'd run into the ranks in this instant. You could decide, Lord.
Yeah, to kill her, who's in the ranks for sure.
Okay. They will go for Ira. 8 of them trying to cut her down with their multi-attacks. A crit and 2 hits, but all the rest are misses.
The boys.
7, 15. And the crit is a D10. 2. Oof. One of them strikes through, impaling her through the chest, spear out the other side, making her a staggering mess. She suffers a level of exhaustion, so disadvantage on ability checks. And she receives 15 damage from them. So the raising and falling of axes and shields battering into this Selkie, this witch, but she is not toppled yet, though is injured by your men. The others will attempt to make their saves. Five come to their senses. So now 13 have their senses. After the Sjohestur crew rush in, striking at Eelersdottir, the Eeler himself is revealed, still looking as like a handsome, like pure man to you, Ygritte, and a horrid old hoar-frosted fisherman to you men outside the hovel who are not stunned by Ira's shriek. He'll use a bonus action to invigorate his closest daughter, Ormhild, and bid her back into the hovel and let her lover defend her. And for his...
Sorry, does she move away from... Is that who I'm fighting, is it?
Yeah, no, he's just... You just hear this happening. He doesn't actually make it happen. And he will go up next to, just behind, so 5 feet from you, not adjacent, but nearly adjacent to Yadewolf the Flensed, and cast a cunning thing upon that warrior, and stand where he is in the midst of them, goading his like brother son on against you. After the Eeler and Thrymnir, your turn to act. You see this all play out before you. You get the moment. Yeah, so you make your save at the end of your turn.
Oh, I can make a save. Okay. Still stunned.
Kneeling there in the sand, like racking agony through your ears as you clutch them, eardrums, and is threatening to burst. Kjartan, you are like afflicted, I guess, but not stricken low by Ira's shriek, and you see the fellow crewmen of the Sjohestur rush in to attack her, while beyond them, your valiant Carl fights Yadewolf turned cloak and this sorcerer.
Yeah, I think Kjartan would drop his bow, drawing his long CX. He runs forward to aid his new Jarl, still bellowing, his voice starting to go hoarse now. And I think he would just try to strike Eadwolf. All right, so that is going to be a 22 to hit, but only 5 points of slashing damage.
You're rushing in to attack a harpy who fell into the ranks
No.
up next to your Jarl.
Yeah, up next to Jarl. Now, the redhead that he had shot with the bow first, is she dead?
That's the one. That's the one you've just hacked at. No, she still lives despite her many wounds. She's arrows and spears in her.
So I'm going to do
you
an
just
extra.
hacked at her.
Yeah,
She's
I'll
not
do
full.
it. So actually, that is. I forgot I get a d6 on her. So that's 9 points of slashing damage.
Describe her demise.
Yeah. So he's just. Oh my gosh, how would it be? He runs up and his heart is just threatens to explode from his chest. The fear is just pulsing through. He can't really hear because of the thumping of the blood in his ears. Plus, he has this retching feeling that he's just able to hold down. So he just drives this thing across her, right across her jaw, splitting it, and her tongue just kind of lolls out as he pulls it free, and her head kind of just falls back. And that would be the end of his turn. But one thing that he would like to do as a bonus action, he would then turn towards Eadwolf and mark him as his next quarry. And that would be the end of his turn.
Yeah, Eadwolf is truly insane now at the death of one of his lovers at your hands. Ormhild lays like sputtering out her last, tongueless and curseless. Ygritte, you still are stunned until the end of Ira's turn. So that'll be after Eadwolf. So still racked by the reverberations of a horrid shriek. Oh no, sorry, that was from Ira.
That's right.
It was not cut down, but yeah, Ormhild was cut down, but Ira would be close to you. But yeah, you're stunned to the end of her turn, so it goes to Ingvar's turn.
Okay, so I see that whatever this thing before me has been hacked down by Kjartan. I'll give him like a nod. I'm still like, I've got the Mjolnir armlet in my mouth, and maybe it's like my imagination, but it feels like it's like heating up from all this like dark sorcery that's being thrown around. He's going to try and like not kill Eadwolf because he thinks he might be savable. And so he's going to try, and I think like it's possible that I can move around Eadwolf to get at the Eeler without moving away from Eadwolf.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
You just get adjacent to both.
Yep, that's fine. So I'll like move sort of slowly in that direction with my shield up, looking at Eadwolf. But then when I get the chance, I'm going to lash out towards this other guy, the Eeler. And that's a crit. Oh, baby. All right, let's get my sax. 7 plus 5 is 12 damage.
To the Eeler.
Yeah.
Vomits like a gruesome green bile as you wound him, but he doesn't fall. What was the D10 for the crit?
It is 9.
You knock him prone before you, such is the force of your wound.
Excellent. So then I'll swing my shield down and try and like smash his throat with it as he's on the ground. So I have the advantage then.
Yep.
Yeah. So that'll be 15 on the die then, plus 5, so 20.
Yeah, that certainly hits. Where's Whalebone Curus under his seaweed rags, but you smash through it into him.
For 7 damage from the shield.
7.
And he actually won't speak because he has the in his mouth, but he'll like look to Kjartan and like down at this like disgusting, obviously evil skag, and like hope that he'll help him.
Eadwolf will try and get vengeance from within you, Kjartan. And enraged and aided and inspired by the Fishcher King, he will attack for a 14 to hit and a 21 to hit.
The 14 will miss. The 21 will definitely hit.
13 slashing damage. Two-handed axe strike over the top of your weapon and cutting down into the shoulder.
Thank God for level 2.
You'll pay, my love. Yadewolf hacks slaveringly so, but it does not fell you. The Sjohestur crew reacts. Those 8 who are unstunned will try and cut down Ira. Oh, sorry, no, Ira goes before them. My bad. She's going to multi-attack and lay about with her claws and her bite at the crewmen around her. Three hits amongst the crew. .43 damage amongst the Sjohestur crew.
Oof.
Which is 2 men are ripped to shreds and fall into puddles of their own offal. 1 man is grievous wounded, near slain at the end of her opening onslaught with claw and tooth alike. And while they see this beautiful thing attacking them and wounding them with weapons unseen, you see her for what she truly is, this floating abhorrent mass regurgitated up from Ran's grotesque halls. Grit. At the end of her turn, the shrieking stun dissipates, and the rest of the crew, yourself and Thrymnir and Ygritte, come to your senses and see the slaughter that awaits before you. Eeler Stromkarlen will try and attack at you, Ingvar.
Yeah, he's prone. I guess he can stand up though.
Yeah, he'll have to use half his movement to stand up. He'll stay where he is, though. He will use another bardic inspiration to Yadewolf, compelling his son brother to continue fighting. And then he will lash out at you with 2 attacks from Obsidian Chris, strewn with cockles and seaweed braids. We'll try and drive it up into your belly underneath the belt for a 16 and a miss.
Am I standing adjacent to Kjartan?
Yes.
Yeah.
He is behind you to your diagonal. The foe is towards you at your diagonal, and then to the right of you is the crazed Yadewolf.
Okay.
So
still outside me. So 16 is my AC now, not 15, but still not enough.
Okay. So that will be from 1 strike. 10 piercing damage.
Ooh.
The slithering Chris pillages up, grinding off hip bone before he pulls it out, and your blood spills down, sheeting over your greaves.
Yeah, he'll grunt loudly in pain. They'll try and keep the amulet in his mouth.
He will stay where he is defending his hold at the threshold, the seaweed-strewn threshold. And Thrymnir, you've come to your senses, and the last vestiges of the shriek disappear like waves receding. And you see the battlefield before you. What do you do?
Yeah, he shakes himself free from that corrupt enchantment. Warm crimson dripping from his ears, and a wild smile spreads like spilled blood across his face. And a demented presence glints in his eyes. He's going to start banging his axe against his chest and discordant rhythm as this man of quiet disposition and few words takes up the saga song with a thunderous intensity, roaring it into the sky above. And I'm going to spend my action activating the Berserk Gang.
At that, the dozen Sjohestur men who had just come to their senses, the wager and Solsi and such, groggily, like the call pierces through to them, and they begin to take up that chant of their captain as you rouse yourself to righteous rage. After Enthrimnir, son of Ægir, Kjartan, it's your turn to act. Yadwolf's hammers down relentlessly like boulders falling from mountaintops into your shield or weapons to clatter against you, while beyond your captain battles against the Fishcher king. What do you do, sir?
I think he's staggered by that blow. Even though he wishes to aid Ygritte, no, not Ygritte, Ingvar, he can't. He has to. So he's just going to strike out at this once crewmate. So he's going to do that with his long sea axe, and he's also going to pull free a hatchet from his loop in his other hand. So that is a 18 to hit with the. So that's 8, 13, 16 slashing damage with the long CX.
You open his chest, marring the rune that cuts down through it. Guts begins to spill, but he stands.
And then, oh shit, I'm on fire. That is that's an 18 to hit and 7 slashing damage with the hatchet as he follows it up with a hatchet, up going towards his groin.
As the fleshed rune graven on his chest is marred by your first strike, the ensorcelment ends, and his eye becomes uncocked. Realization dawns on his bruised features before your axe takes him in his vital nether, and a hot gush of his life force spills over your boots, and Yadwolf, so lusty in life, goes down to Ran's halls as his axe of betrayal drops cluttering amongst the stone, unheld.
Yeah, I think that would stun Kjartan. He would see his sanity return to him in the split second before his axe strikes, but it's too late, and so now he knows he must live with that, and that would be the end of his turn.
Ygritte, you come to your senses. You see your brother foremost at the foeman, and the Eelersdottir like laying about at the Sjohestur crew, while the barbarian ravens himself and makes to the fray.
Ygritte casts aside the bow and pulls out 2 hatchets, one in each hand. She moves forward and strikes out at this sea witch, whatever it is. Non-natural 20 to hit and 11 damage, and then she'll disengage for a bonus action and move back farther away from it.
The wound, you score a wound across her that do not fell her as you like dart into the melee with the Sjohestur crew, and then back out again before she can hack at you. And I'm assuming that's all you got, Ygritte?
Yes.
The move dash attack? Okay. Ingvar, you're next to act.
I don't think Ingvar saw what happened with Edwulf. He's like trying to fight this Fishcher king, and so maybe that's good for everyone that he didn't see. So he probably wouldn't even notice. He's like trying to kill this hideous, awful man, and so he's going to swing at him again. Only a 9 on the die for a +6, so a 15 to hit.
15 on the Eeler is a miss. It strikes back off his whalebone cuirass.
Okay. With the shield, though, it's a 21.
Smashes into him.
It smashes in for 6 points of damage.
He spits blood from busted lips, and a few blackened teeth, like tombstones, rot out of his mouth and like fall down with the slaver. He's badly buffeted, though still fights on.
Yeah, so he's just like swinging the shield mentally, like madly, trying to end this thing, but that's it for him.
Yadwolf sees the spectre of a Valkyrie waft over him like a fog as he slips away to a colder place. Ira howls in her frightful fury and slashes down amongst the Sjohestur crew. She'll do a multi-attack again for a hit, a miss. 21 damage. The wounded man, as he tries to like crawl free of the fray, just has one of her talons go through his back, like a kitten might play with an insect. And then she raises up, grabbing a man, ripping out his throat, bursting through chain links and like boiled gorget alike. He reels back, and a spray of blood falling in to the mess. There's another 2 of the crew are slain. The Sjohestur crew respond in kind for 16 attacks. Six hits, one of which is a crit, as they just like mob her and spearing down or hacking down with axes, and her blood is spilt and mingles with hers. So that's going to be 7. 27. You can see her amidst the fray from where you are, Ygritte, back from like the front rank of the violence, and see that she still stands, though there is like axes hacking down into her, and half of her face has been like cut away, revealing like fish skull beneath, and like her open like jaw and sinus exposed to the sea breeze. She has that kind of listlessness about her, like a rudderless ship or like a person concussed and close to death. As Ægir is swamped and near laying low, the Eeler sees this outrage done to his daughter. He has to get past you and Kjartan to get to her, though. He's going to disengage from you, the wily old man, and rush past, not provoking opportunity attack from you, Kjartan. Do you have a feat that gets around that, Lloyd? Or is that another character of yours I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it's the guy from the Roman game.
Okay, so he'll take the disengage action. He'll rush into the fray up behind his daughter Aira and use his bonus action to inspire her with his last of those. And he's grabbing her, trying to pull her away from the fray, and the Sjohestur crew will try and cut him down where he stands too. After the Eeler and Thrymnir, it's your turn to act. Oh, sorry, I need to do the crit on Aira. My bad. It is a combat 4. She suffers another level of exhaustion as she's given the barely standing trait from that crit from one of the Sjohestur crewmen. So that's disadvantage on attacks now as well, I believe, as well as ability checks. And then it's your turn in Thrymnir. Sorry for that.
Oh, good. So in from you hear her screeching as she's cleaved into by the crew. And it's like a call to challenge, and he's willing to respond to it. He's going to charge in, shouldering the crew aside. A manic swing, but
I trailed away at the end there, checks. I didn't hear the result.
Sorry, 22 to hit, 10 damage.
Oh, certainly. To Aira or to her father?
To Ira.
Describe the blow and her subsequent death.
Like a crazed butcher at work on a swinging carcass, he'll deliver two meaty facts into the chest, just obliterating meat and bone. And then he'll reach in and pull forth the Selkies' heart and tear off a chunk of the tough leathery organ, the one rending savage and salt bitter bite.
As your teeth the puffer fish heart, she just drops in amongst the mess of the slain, a bed of her own gore, vanquished. The Eeler screeches some hideous paternal crescendo, and will move to face you. Begotten, you hear this blood-curdling screech and like turn, hauling your eyes away from your captain back towards the melee, and see both these skags or sirens are being cut low, but the Eeler stands still, hacking away at the Sjohestur crewman and then Thrymnir. What do you do?
I think Begotten comes back to his senses, and as he rushes past, and he would give chase and look to strike the thing down. He would also he would mark it as his quarry now in this battle, and so he'll try to hit it with his long sea axe and the hatchet.
You'll be flanking with one of the Sjohestur. That'll be a combat effect of you guys being in that melee with overwhelming odds. So your attacks now, if you've hemmed him in, will all be at advantage.
Okay, so that's a 19 is my highest.
Certainly.
And so the damage, the damage of the CX is 6-9 slashing, and the hatchet would be that's an 18 all up, and that is only 1 slashing from that.
You hack through the old man. His whalebone cuirass stops the full force of some of the blows. The blood runs freely from his crooked old nose now, and there's cuts about his head. This man is not long for this world. Is very bloodied.
I think he would just bellow at this as he strikes with the hand axe into his face, drawing his attention to him and not the other men, and hoping that that'll then create opportunity for the Jarl that he hopes is coming in behind him.
Grit, you see the Sjohestur crew and Thrymnir and Begotten all just like mob around a circle around this shell-bedraggled Eeler and his obsidian Chris, while he fights over the corpses of his daughters. What do you do?
Egret, with elbows nearly as sharp as hatchets, forces her way through to strike out at this man who she suspects is not as he seems. If the look of his daughters is any indication, 19 and 18 to hit.
Yeah, both are hits.
It's 5 damage on the first one and 7 damage on the second one.
12. The last is like a mortal strike, and blood sheets out over the open wound as you pull your blade forth. His Chris falls from his hands, and he staggers, barely alive, and like dying on his feet, with only a few strands left to be cut. And do you dart out again, or will you stay in the fray?
She'll stay.
Okay. Ingvar, every living warrior of the Sjohestur you brought with you is now hacking down into this Eeler, and what is a terrible foe alone here is being made of quick meat. You stand with your back at the threshold of his incestuous hovel, and before you the bloody beach and the seahorses crew. What do you do?
I guess I'll look around quickly to see there's nothing behind me. Though I will then kneel by Eadwulf and press a weapon into his hand and say to Odin, he didn't know. It wasn't his fault. He'll press the weapon into his hand and hope it's not too late for that.
What's your passive perception, Lord?
Passive perception is 11.
Cool.
Yeah, so he'll do that, and then he'll rise, and that seems to be well in hand, whatever's going on. There's a whole crew and one old man, and so he's going to move into the house.
There's a cauldron bubbling away with a foul stank and what looks like seaweed and fish heads in amongst it. There's this flensed seal skin, or walrus skin is probably more apt, thrown across the floor, and the place reeks of love play. And you can see unguents and tinctures and salves in green bottles and vials lining the earthen shelves of one side of the hovel, and gear not sported by any of the Volva and their father, heaped on the shelves on the opposite side of the room, both facing the cauldron. Underneath that, there is a large leather and wood salt-crusted chest that nearby joins a small kitchenette where you can see wooden boards of littered with shells and mollusks and half-prepared seafood, crudely done. It reeks in here, so it causes your elbow to come up, warding your nose after a few moments. And beyond, through a dark hole in the rock that bores down and is slickened with seawater, you hear the faint lap of waves hitting stone beneath the hovel, and ever so faintly a human cry for help being carried along that air rush with the self-same sounds of wave.
Gods. I guess I'll move carefully towards the making every or taking every care not to slip or to step on anything that will crack under his weight. Move towards where you can hear the voice and call out.
There's strange coloured barnacles and other rock shells strewn about the walls here, where the reek is stronger, and the path is slick underneath your feet, causing you to wobble a few times and put your hands out for balance. It ends in quite a severe basalt rock drop down to a nearly completely flooded chamber that a cube of black stone is seen just beneath, obscured beneath the depths in, and there's detritus of all manner girt in an irregular circle around what must be some altar or fane. The sound of the noise is an iron cage rusted and sprinkled all about with corals and shells. And there's a drenched, puffy-skinned man with blue lips and eyelids, pleading for help until another wave comes and lashes him under for a few seconds before receding, and he can grip to the top of the bars and fight for salty breath.
Okay, I've taken a long time, but I think my intention is to go down there.
Yeah, it took your full movement to go through the house and to the lip of this tunnel. To descend down there, you could jump into the water or climb down the slickened stone for your action or to dash action.
I guess I don't have mail, so I'm not going to drown. Thankfully, I'm too poor for mail. Yeah, okay. I'll put a knife between my teeth and hook the or put the seax back in the scabbard, and I'll begin to climb down somewhat carefully. Hopefully.
Roll athletics check, sir.
Okay. 17 all up.
Yeah, you scramble down the slickened stones expertly, and then plonk into the water and turn to wade. You can feel like the jangle of stuff, not shells and rocks so much as various bits of like mineral detritus, and like you can see bones and other organic materials like down there at this water, which is about navel to nipple height. And then you notice at the mouth, like another like wave of tide begins to waft in. After Ingvar to be Ira, she bubbles her last breath away bloodily as the Sjohestur crew stomp atop her corpse, intent on murdering her father. Many blades will rise and fall. I'll use the dice generator for that. 12. 33. The Sjohestur crew, emboldened by your like swift slaughter of the Selkie and Thrymnir, rush past you, like flooding in about the foeman, and with so many like spears like seeking at him, the Fishcher king is bested against the Seahorse's crew, and Skewered is sent down to Ran's halls alongside his daughter as he's finally like spilt into the sand before you. Down in this chamber, you hear like a muted cry of like cheer of victory from beyond before like the wave crashes over your head, deafeningly. Ingvar. And Thrymnir, you're the next to act. You look across from where the men raise bloody or gore-dripping weapons across to the dwelling, and you see like the foe woman slain there at the threshold, no sign of your captain.
Yeah, he can. We can still feel this feasted upon heart warming his belly as it rises within like a meal. Still taste the caustic of it on his tongue. He's still looking for something to kill, and he's going to head towards the hut in the hopes that there is alive. That's what he's going to do. He'll headbutt a couple of the crew on the way by for getting in his way, though.
What's your passive perception, sir?
Passive 13.
Just stride into the Fisher's hovel. You hear emanating from in the basalt tunnel at the far side of the dwelling, cry of help cut short as if by a wave. Though it's like dark to peer through, you cannot see like what the source is. There's no sign of your Carl in here, though there is trinkets, fetishes, and what some may call loot from in this profaned place. We'll go out of combat now. You guys can just act as normal. Kjartan and Ygritte, you see Thrymnir moving towards the hovel. And the men either celebrate about each other, clutch at their wounds, or a few move towards slain combat comrades.
Ygritte will leave the men behind and begin searching for Ingvar, not seeing him immediately among the slain, and suspecting him to have gone in search of further enemies, perhaps inside. You
have bonus action dash, right?
I do.
90 foot of movement. That get you in past Thrymnir and up to the lip at that rocky hallway which leads down to the sunken flooded altar. And you'd see your brother amongst the water before it recedes a little, and he can like put his head up again for another. And you hear now renewed this man, "Help me, please!" hauling at these like barnacled and salt-crusted bars futilely as he's racked about by Ran's waves.
So my passive perception is only 13, but does it look like that thing is locked? Like it would need a key to get in and out of? Whatever contraption this man is being held in.
Yeah, you can see that on the outside of the iron cage there is like a pad, a shaft that falls down into a bracket, and it is supported by an iron ring which has a strange defaced sigil graven into the middle of it. The metal does look compromised, given its like state with like the shells and salt crust and how long it looks like it's been down here. Though like this emaciated man's strength is not enough to break through a heavy kind of weapon might.
She'll just call down to Ingvar. She sees him. Ingvar!
He'll look up. Rope!
Yeah, she'll begin scrambling around and just probably unfurling some rope when Anthrimnir arrives.
You wade over to the man close enough to see his scrawny hands like clutching futile at the bone, the bars. He reaches out with one hand, like fumbling for you. Please, by Thor, help me!
Yeah, I'll try and make sure he doesn't grab me or anything. I know that like men who drown often drown others. I've seen it happen, and so I'll try and make sure that he's not like grabbing at me. And I'm gonna like look at the like metal and see if I think like a well placed blow from an axe could like sever it so that this man could escape.
Yep, but it'd be timing with like the flow of the wave, which will make the strike or the ability check at disadvantage.
Okay.
For athletics check.
Yep, that sounds good. 15 and a 12, so I'll take the 12, which will mean a total of 17.
You smash down into the mechanism. The lock does not break, though the rusted bar that's held in by the bracket does, and like bends up, and you can like jimmy at the thing till you like slip it over the rusted bracket, and like pull the cage door free into the water. The man like fumbles, wading forward to like clutch at you as another like tidal waft comes in. You're submerged for a few seconds, and the salt stings at your eyes. When it recedes, there's a mutual gasp of air, and the man like clutches on with like skeletal fingers at your shoulder, and like head goes under the water again. Only by virtue of your support does he like breach his head above water once more. You see this below, before you, and Thrymnir and Ingrid as you stand at the basalt lip. While Kjartan and the men outside see to the wounded. With the rope thrown down and two of you to haul and other Sjohestur crewmen to come if a hand is needed, it's easy enough for you to haul the prisoner up first and then yourself scale up through the spume of the Eeler's halls. Ingvar, back up, a hand on either side, one from Thrymnir and Ygritte, back into the basalt hallway. The prisoner collapses to his knees before you there, and the Sjohestur crewmen in the hovel beyond look down at the hallway towards the man wondering. You hear the waves lashing at the sunken chamber behind you. What do you guys want to do?
Ingvar will call out for Kettle and Folky Two Teeth to like begin searching through the place and like looting everything that shines and anything they think might be valuable, but to be careful not to like activate any like curses that are laying around the place. He wishes that Yrsa was here because she would know what to do with this place. But he'll like get men on that. He'll have other men take this man outside into like the out onto the beach area and like give him something to eat, something tiny even, so he doesn't like throw up. And yeah, that will be what we're doing at the moment, like gathering loot and seeing who this man is.
What about Thrymnir?
Imagine Thrymnir is one of the men who helped take the man outside, and he is not as exhausted as the prisoner, but he looks rough as well, so he's probably slumped down next to the man regarding him as he...
So after a time, that salt-crusted chest is hauled out into the glare, and the men greedily rip the leather clasp off and unspool the contents. And it's dozens of sets of different types of clothing. There's fishermen's clothing in there and workmen's and sailors. But other clothes too, finer, a few rusted vests of mail. Perhaps like the many garments of the victims of this place. The men also find two strange fetishes, one made of monsters' teeth with haws bored through it, and a hempen cord arranged in profane fashion. There is also a seaweed and seal fur braided garrote with cockles and other oceanic fetishes jangling from it. Many of the stones bear runes that none of you recognize. The men you sent to ransack the place all attest to the glimmer of metal and promise of wealth in the sunken chamber beyond where you'd plucked the desperate man from, but will not go down while Ran's angry and the tide is up, unless ordered, of course. But they'd bring that out into the sun amongst the wounded enemy and ally alike.
Ingvar would be fearful of stealing from Ran at all, I think. And if that's an altar to Ran, he's beginning to regret taking this man out of it, but nonetheless, whatever this was, Odin wouldn't like it. He'll have the bodies of the whatever they are, dragged and thrown down into the water after the tongues have been cut out of them. Yeah, and then just thrown into the tidal pool or whatever where the man was buried. Actually, maybe put them in the cage. That seems like a fair trade for Ran.
Yeah, that would have to be done in some hours' time though, when the tide goes back down.
Yeah, I mean, Ingvar's going to question the man or whatever, but if anyone else wants to do something.
I think Ygritte is just looking to see that Ingvar is not too badly hurt.
I know he's fine. He took some strikes, but he's not nowhere near unconscious. He'll take some salted meat from a pouch at his side and squat down in front of the man and hand it to him. Name?
Ranald, Lord Ranald of Halagaska.
How came you here?
Ran spume teeth. She clawed me here at this bay as I was searching for my brother on the coast. And he gulps again, raspily, and will take another swig of the drink.
And Halagaska is the big settlement, is it?
Yeah, if you see that map, that Ulvaig board off Karel, it's to the northeast of here, along the bay. He says, and I thought myself marooned in paradise, Lord, amongst these, but saw them for what they were when I was made an offering. I owe you my life, Lord.
Yes, you do. We can talk about that after you've recovered from Halagaska. You know the place? Who dwells there? Their names? How many?
I've not been there years, making my fortune in Sjohestur, Lord, though I'm a native of Asblodr. I came back to reconcile with my brother. And under your fierce gaze and his vulnerable position, spills further to say, fortune did not favor me in Sjohestur.
No, it seems fortune doesn't favor you at all. Until today.
He is unlucky.
Lady, how am I not lucky? Oh, the god sent you, Lord. Perhaps your god wanted me more than theirs.
Maybe. I suppose we'll see. You might be useful, I'll say quietly, to Ygritte. So he's been to Sotterfjord. He might know good routes, how to get there, secret ways, things like that. He might know merchants' names, might know village names, where they are, and he might know something about Haligaske.
Might.
Yes, he might. That is what I said. He also might not.
He looks like he could barely hold up a shield. If he doesn't have useful information, he's not useful.
It could take time. Man has been near drowned for who knows how long. Might take him a little bit of time to get his thoughts together. If he doesn't, then we kill him. If he does, then we game.
And if he's cursed, then Ran wants him back and takes us all down too?
If we cannot know. If Ran wanted him so badly, she wouldn't have let me take him.
Odin was on your side.
Odin's always on my side. And there's no like bragging that. He like believes that to be true. We'll sacrifice these things to Ran. They can go dwell in our holes. Seems that's the way they belong. We'll lock them in the cage. We won't loot from Ran's temple, if that's what it is.
The men look downcast at that, and there's a few exchanged glances as men remember fallen brothers, and there'll be no weir guild or plunder here. And though they would grumble, none will protest.
Which of you would go and steal from Ran, from her temple? Would you walk into a shrine of Odin and take gold from there?
Odin does not hate us, Lord, says one of the men. Ran tries us every time we come south.
And we should
She'll
make that
try
worse?
us if we steal or not. I've been in hairy storms, Lord, and many of them with you. And all we'd prayed to Ran, or had virgin's piss in the bilge, or this or that, or a quarter of a horse dropped in the spume. Still men lost. But no. Though I would profane Ron's altar, I would not disobey you.
Once again, he wishes that Yrsa was around so he could ask her like what is correct. Like, is it okay to steal from Ran? His gut says it's not wise to steal from any god. But the man is right. Like, Ran is shitty in any situation and always. And so how much angrier can she be? He'll stick with it. He'll say no.
And the men will then commence to the sea trunk and pulling out like the choicer garments and arguing amongst themselves. One of the garments even gets ripped and spoiled further as they like take their share from it. The Hardranger harp and shark tooth necklace and fine garrote, as well as like a garment for each of you, as like brought over by the men as this like job is seen to.
Where's the man's black blade?
The man will like go over, clutching at his crotch, and point to it with his left hand, and like look away from it as if it's like a stink to avert. You can see your blood still heavy on the thing.
Yeah, I don't like it. It seems wrong in every way. Does it look like it looks made of stone? Does it? It's obsidian.
Mm-hmm. It's a crest, like curving, which is like you would think impossible to make a stone implement in that shape. But there it seems to be.
I'll pick it up and like see how it feels, and I'll test how sharp it is on like a branch, like try and shave it.
Yeah, you easily carve a line through the bark into the wood beneath. It's sharp despite bursting through the chain links of your mail. And is mechanically D6 short sword as far as you can to your eye.
Yeah, it freaks me out. It doesn't seem right that it exists, and it definitely seems like it's tied to Ran in some sort of profane. Like it should belong to her and should be in her halls, not here on Midgard. And so I'll take this thing and the bodies of the other three with their tongues cut out. And rune marked Aidwolf. I think now that he's dead and marked, I think there's no chance for Valhalla on reflection. And I'll put them into the cage, or I'll get men to do that rather, and like leave them to Ran.
Will you stay around for the hours needed for the time to pass, like for the tide to go out till those men can do that task, or will you intend to go back to the Sjohestur with the wounded?
I would stay for the duration, definitely, and I'd want Ygritte with me as well. Anthrimnir, like, we should get some sort of like fancy reward because he killed the big monster. I'm sure like those stories would like come to Ingvar, and he would like give him an extra share of the meager loot.
So after many hours of pass, the tides are going out. Your men will set to the grisly task of putting the bodies of the slain down into Ran's place below the Fisher's Hall. They cry out to you in the ankle-deep water now, and as you like look over the basalt lip down into the fane, you can see items like weaponry and bits of armament, well rusted, most to the point of detritus or just like uselessness. There's some things down amongst the sea, like the seawater and coins. Some weapons still seem intact. There's strange, like larger hexagonal coins, like the Jotun exchange in, and other myriad like forms of currency, like littered about the strewn offerings here. There you see 3 narwhal horns lashed together with cord. There you see like a black iron helm clad with shells. And across you see like a spear with black cord woven about the mid haft of it and a long leaf tip, still glinting with sharpness in the shallows. And the men kind of look up with like that man's look of dragon sickness, and then back about the place, treading carefully even here, covered in the gore of the foe.
Yeah, Ingvar feels that sickness as well as he like sees the. He wasn't expecting it to be this tempting or this fine. And he's going through a lot of trouble to give this stuff to Ran. These like bodies, people who can like dance in her halls, and those devoted to her. And I think it wouldn't take much to push him in the direction of taking stuff as opposed to not. So, and he's going through all this trouble, like that's in his mind. He's going through all this trouble to make sure that she's not angry. So she's going to be angry either way, like the men said. So he'll like look down and like sort of like, all right then. He'll like say to the men with a grin after like a long sigh. Take what coins you can. Whatever finery you can find here. And someone get me that spear.
So the men set to work in the shallows, hauling up the bundle of narwhal horns, a wand carved of white birch and graven with sigilry of trees, 9 dinner plate-sized hectagonal Jotun discs of gold, 2 golden torques, one for the throat, one for the wrist, the larger showing wolf heads nearly kissing. The spear is a equivalent boar spear and looks shod at top and haft with brass, though the brass does not seem to have fared as ill as you'd expect given these conditions. And there's 313 bits of hack silver between like little finger and thumbnail size, which the men like haul up in their drenched shirts, smiling wolfishly and crooning to each other delightfully, and like telling you how the wagerer and Solcy wouldn't mind if you like if they like omitted their share and we just shared it out right now, though they're only half joking or like a third joking. And they'll haul all this up, and there's like heaps of other shit down there as well, but like to their Reaver investigations and prodding amongst like the smooth stones, there's nothing else of worth down there but what they've like heaved up here, grabbing the oh sorry, and there's also a hammer whose haft is like sodden and near rendered useless, but the heavy head still well balanced, and it's graven with a single eye with a slash through it, Odin's mark. And its craft is certainly not northern, not even Asblodr you think. It's got to be either Gunlander or Sjohestur make. Though the spear is like the Asblodr design. The long spear that their infantry can use shieldless, and with their few cavalry, they can use it as lances. So it's not an uncommon weapon here, but it is uncommon that this weapon would be whole and useful, being sunk down here for who knows how long. I'll put all that in the chat for you now, as the men like pull it up for your appraisal, out to where Ingrid and the others stand watch after and Thrimnir and Kjartan went back to the Sjohestur with the wounded.
That being the case, like Ingvar will like look down in the pool for a while, and he'll like call Ygritte. She's got a better eye for wealth than he has. I think we got everything, but I'm not sure. You see anything?
Do I see anything besides what's been described?
Can I get a perception check, please?
Oh, that is a natural 19, which is 22.
So it looks like algae or grime enshrouded like wood, like driftwood or something, to the others. But as you like scrape upon the surface of this cylindrical object, it reveals bone underneath. It's human leg bone. As you like pull it free of the water and like wring your hand down it, wiping away like the outer film of like scum and grime, and that there's 9 holes pierced down the middle of the thing and a mouthpiece, and it flutes out at the bottom. Twirling it between your fingers, it appears to be a tibison, a flute made of shin bone.
Yeah, there's an expression of curiosity and disgust as she finds the 9 holes and almost bores them out again, removing some of the slime and the algae. And she'll hold it out. I don't play it. I wouldn't.
Nor me, I think. But I'm sure there's someone who'll pay good money for it. Take it with. Speak if you're going to speak. Don't sigh at me.
Fine, but you have to hold it. It's disgusting.
He'll like raise a hand for you to throw it, and he'll like catch it.
She like wipes off the slime. Ugh.
You don't look so miserable. We're rich.
We'll be richer when we can sell the thralls.
Yeah, thralls will be small money compared to the gold that we found. Can finally look like a warlord.
Small money, but fewer mouths to feed.
Men want gold, and now we have it.
You did well. I guess.
I know. And he's not joking. He's
she
just,
knows.
like, certain. Yeah.
Like he's just always this confident. All right then, Jarl.
Yeah, he'll grin and look back down at the place. The body's like inside the cage now, and like the last few glinting bits of smooth stone underneath the waves, and give a nod and start to leave.
You go small, walking off into the distance back towards the beach, Sjohestur, just leaving 4 dead men in the sand. There's a whoop and cheer that goes up from those on board when the prospect of plunder manifests before them, and they take off hats and like clasp each other. Some like kissing and singing and going about pouring over the metal as the shares are being divvied up by the most trusted of the crew. And there's good mirth, though a few of the older hands look somber at the death of the men left in the Fisher's Cove. There's been no trouble while you're away, and it does not take long to put the seahorse back to water after everything's in order. As you stand on the deck with your bondsman, while the others and thralls set to rowing, one of the 2 men set in the bilge to watch those thralls not rowing would come up while you survey the afternoon horizon. Captain, that Ranald hauled up from the Fisher's Hole. He's asking to speak with you, Lord. Wants to know his fate. And he gives like a cruel grin.
All right, bring him here.
Yeah, he's brought up. He still looks like trash, but a little better than when he was found, drinking in what of the sun he can, and with like a bit more food in his belly, enough to stand unaided, though sickly looking still. Saviour, Captain, I wish to know what is to be my fate. To be set below in the bilge with those thralls. Have you rescued me from Ran to make a slave of me, Lord?
Depends on how useful you can be to me. You a warrior?
He gives a breath, suppressing the lie that he'd begun to form, and shakes his head.
And what do you know?
No, that
that's
was
useful
always
to me?
Holger. Father always said Holger would count the dead and I would count the coins. Though I had no coins to my name when I sailed north, back to Asblodr. Fool that I am. No, Lord, I've no skill with sword, though I can count, and my reading is not small.
You know this magic of reading?
Some, Lord.
And counting? You good at this?
Aye, good at counting, Lord. And he like says that tenuously because he's worried that like what use that would have for an Iskolfan Reaver. Well, that's what he takes you for.
You've been to Sotterfield many times. With
I
contacts
lived there
there.
for 3 years, Lord. He looks around nervously at that. More debtors than contacts, Lord. And he looks down at his bare, toenailless toes.
You know where rich men live in Sotterfield? Undefended villages, quiet places with money.
The sea wolves have ravaged this coast so long, Lord. There's no undefended places here. Though I know where the places are, Lord, he says without looking up.
And what about around here? What do you know of the great town here?
I know of Braggy's spear, and of Halagaska, where I was born, Lord, and of the greater town on the other side of Braggy's Ridge, in the southern bay, Hjalfjorda, Lord. I've been there at my trade, though not for 3 years past. Cannot say who rules. Though I heard from a man south of here, that Sigthric Braggison still was Thane of Halagaska.
Hmm.
Though I've no kin there, Lord, my brother was banished from that place just as I was run out of Sjohestur, Lord.
Seems to me that you are a bad trader. You seem to be a bad at a lot of things.
If a man dies, Lord, does that make him a bad warrior? I'm coinless now, but still my wits. And his teeth starting to shake at that, looking about at the cruel men in mail around you, gulping down the thought that he might be going to Rand's halls presently.
Egret will kind of grab his arm and push his sleeves up, and she's looking for any brands or marks upon him, indication for why he might have been cast out.
His body shows no sign of branding, and the irony is not lost at him as he looks at your neck brand, though he says nothing as you scour his skin. The only mark you see is the fleshy one on his chest, the same that lusty Yadewolf sported before he was cut down by Kjartan. No brand, and he has both of his ears and his bottom lip. So there's no thief, or at least not a bad one, enough to get caught. Though being called a thief from a branded Iskolfin Reaver would be
Yeah.
a radicical irony.
I think maybe your knowledge of numbers can be useful to me, maybe. And you have the magic of words, which can be useful too, but I don't know. I think someone fetch Anthrimnir.
He is ill, Lord, says one of the men tenuously. Not like hinting that he's like, are you sure you want me to get him? I'm fearful of rousing him when he's this way.
And he'll give a look of did I ask you who he was? I say, go get him.
He gives a nod and stalk off to gingerly rouse you. And Thrimnir, underneath the canvas shade, while those about you row from your groggy haze. It's mid-afternoon, you gauge by the sun that backlits the man standing over you. The captain called for you, Thrimnir. And you note the small quaver in his voice before he says your name.
Sit up, stretch, and crack the muscles in his back. Push the man aside and make his way towards. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there between Ygritte, Ingvar, and Kjartan, you see Ranald, the man pulled up from the fish's cage.
You did well today. You killed that thing. And I should reward you for that. So, here's a thrall for you that we will not sell. You can sell him if you like, but he's yours.
The man gulps and wonders silently at the strange way that gods grant their wishes, the wishes they choose to hear.
Just look this man up and down, and with a grunt and a shrug. almost that's as much acknowledgement as you're going to get. He'll start to walk away and then stop and turn back towards Begotten Thrall.
He'll scurry in behind you and go to take your place at the oar while you try and rest, and he pulls an oar the very night he's plucked from his watery cage. And as you sail on from the Mirkin Isle, we'll take a breath for smokes and toilets and for me to put the air conditioner on. A 5-minute interlude, shall we agree upon?
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. I'll see you soon, Lee.
Go back in a sec. So we're rich.
Would seem so.
We'll probably get killed in the storm now, but
I was going to say that's. I don't think Rand is a goddess you want to piss off when we live by the sea.
the men are right though. She's always pissed off. She's trying to kill us anyway.
Yep.
You know, like thinking about it, and we left her some sacrifices and stuff. So who knows?
So in the loot dock, which things didn't we take, or did we take all of it?
But we took everything.
Okay, like even the like weird seashell like name I can never pronounce, Kiot.
The Garrot, yeah.
Oh, Garrot. Oh God.
Yeah, we took everything. I mean, I think the reason is that we can go and sell them as magical things that we found. Is my hope anyway. I want to get those golden discs turned into arm rings.
And there's already at least one gold wrist ring and a torque.
Yep.
If you have no objections, Jarl, I wouldn't mind that war axe.
I was going to give you the big boar spear because it's two-handed, but yes, certainly. But whatever one you want, or both.
No, I think I'll go for the axe because that way I've still got a throwing hand.
Yeah.
And I'm known to kind of throw the weapon away and just punch people in the face, so...
Yeah, I think Ygritte would probably like say a couple prayers to Odin, but then take that little garret because it would be very useful for silencing people.
Yep.
I think Kjartan takes none of it. Being descendant of the Iron Eye, he's wicked superstitious. So, despite the assurances that you made proper sacrifice to replace what was taken, I think he would be like, no, it's all set.
As you wish.
You'd probably see him. He'd probably be really quiet, and you'd see him like looking around at the sky, look at the waves. You know, like anyone superstitious would do, waiting for that next wave that's going to crest and swamp the ship.
Yeah,
maybe a little sour when it doesn't happen. It attacks his faith.
Yeah.
So as Anthrima takes away his new thrall, Harding will approach and ask, Lords, with hours left till nightfall, where do we plot course?
Can we make it to Rotherclutter?
Not by nightfall, maybe by tomorrow night.
I don't suppose there's much problem sailing at night. Probably just like, yeah. I'm wary of like staying here on this island. I feel like it's bad vibes here. Yeah.
As per that map that you guys have, that Olveg purchased of Karel, you're on the southeast tip of that Siren's Sound, in that body of water between the island that you've been on and the mainland of Braggy's Spear that juts out of the center of the two harbors.
Let's make for the southern tip of Braggy's Spear then, and we can camp there for the night, or like at least pull the ship ashore for the night, and then in the morning sail for Radicletter.
Yeah, despite some of the more superstitious men's fears, it's a brisk wind through the night through the evening that carries you to shore just as like the sun dips away, and you can make camp and find better rest than you would have on the Seahorse on the tip of Braggy's Ridge. Through the night, the weather is blustery, though no rain falls, and none of the wounded men perish in the night. The next day, winds skip across the ship early in the morning and in the middle of the afternoon. There's much rowing to be done in between that. The wounded men groan and the going is slow now that the numbers have dwindled on the Snekker. By nightfall that evening, Harding is true to his words, and you can spy the campfires and cook fires that line the coast and ridges of Rauderklauver, and see the big-bellied ships in the harbour there as like torch-bearing men move about as evening falls, giving a lit activity look to the place. And you can find your way in, like by torchbearers on the jetties, to where your ship can find berth. And a couple of men, like armed and armored, though friendly enough, will like walk down the gangways towards where some thralls are like catching ropes from your own thralls and tying your longboat in against the jetty. A broad-bellied old man with a big scar that runs down just shy of his right eye, down the top of his nose and ending before his lip, looks appraisingly across the Seahorse, noting the dragon prow's not on it, and so marking your peaceful intent. Welcome to Rauderklauter. Where is that old bastard Olveg?
He sits in the corpse hall now.
A smile and like the words unspoken, he swallows and like goes to clutch at his amulet of Mjolnir. Poor bastard. I'm Helder. I campaigned with him years back. Decades. I serve here for Isbjornsson as his master of harbour. I trust you'll keep the law as Olveg did.
We will. Amingvar.
Well met. He'll clasp his hand and like look over the deck at your crew and the hard bastards and seeing few of the wounded ones. Spoils from Asblodr? Your men look weary. I hope it's because of luck.
Some luck, yeah. We're hoping to find somewhere warm that we can fill our bellies, get some good sleep, and sell and buy.
Well, you're in luck. There is an ale sink in the community. There were two. The other was burnt down when my Jarl took this place. Berkthgar might be happy to speak to the predecessor of Olveg, whom he marked well and amongst his friends. As for merchantry, there's one of those lowlanders from Zealand, and he points down to the ship at the far side of the jetties, fat-bellied and double-masted, unlike your own sea wolves, like a southern make. That bastard Carol's in town plying his wares. Find him out if you've goods to sell.
Slave trade here?
He nods and fingernails in between his like canine and smaller tooth, spits something into the wind and looks around. Aye, thriving and soon to be more so when Asblodr falls proper. You know that Zealand bastard. He can sniff out the slave trade when the going is good. You'll find him down there. He points to his ship, the ale sink, and he like points across like the muddy and shit-strewn thoroughfare there. And my Jarl Berkthgar has his preside, and he like points up on top of the cliff where you can see like a tiered Nordic like long haul, like a spear tip in the ridge looking down over the cove and the ships at berth there. You can see like fires lit, like guard fires and like cauldron and cook pots, but also individuals like moving about on guard with flames. It's like quite a heavy guard and like amount of policing to your eye. But you know, Isbjornsson was always called cautious by Ulfag.
Yeah, it's kind of relaxing almost in a way. It feels relatively safe despite like the large amount of armed people, because there are armed people. At least Ingvar thinks so.
Yeah, you can see, as I said, the other ships. You'd imagine at least one of them belongs to Berkthgar, though others would have other reaving crews, a Skulfin crew. And by the amount of people you can see around here and the like dull ruckus, even at this hour, there's obviously like many warriors in this place.
Yeah, that's comforting. He'll like had a bit of hack silver too. What was his name? Haldar.
It's 3 hack silver a day, and then when the ship goes, you get 1 hack silver back for every day that you paid.
Cool. Yep. And my assumption is that like there's people to guard the ship and whatnot, but I'll still keep some of the men on the ship.
Yeah, the hack silver is for the privilege to berth there. Guarding it and stuff would be your domain.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to pay extra. The man says, like, almost as if it's like like an impolite thing to bring up, in almost like a coy way that a man of his years probably shouldn't have to, but he's obviously like mannered enough, and says, "I'm to take weapons of those who come ashore, Lord, who don't speak an oath to Jarl Berkthgar." And so he like waits to see how you will react.
And that seems normal, right? Like it doesn't like, you wouldn't expect to have people just like wander around this town full of like fully armed or whatever. So I'll shrug. Yeah, those that come ashore, will leave their weapons on the boat.
Very well, and he'll like close his 3-fingered and 1-thumbed hand around the hack silver you place into the gloved palm, and like deposit it and nod to the thralls who are like tying in the long ship. There's a tithe as well to be paid to the Jarl or one of his representatives, 1/10 of every transaction. And Isbjornsson's law is that of Uthil's.
He'll spit into the salt water. 10th. Not cheap.
On all trade done, and Rauta Klauta. Unless you can catch that fat Zealander out on the seas, even your trade with him is tithed, Lord. And he says it like reluctantly, not reluctantly, but for want of a better word.
I accept.
He like sighs a little easier. Well, if there's anything else, Captain, I'll leave you to it.
Have a good evening.
He'll nod and like whistle through like a rotted tooth towards the thralls, like finish up their work and like move off with him. And the men begin to like they cut the Kettle the wagerer's like longest hair, like sprouting out in one of his ties, and they all like take a bundle and see who has like the shortest hair, the shortest straw, so to speak, to see who will like be the ones to go to shore and who will have to stay and guard the ship. And like that excitement comes over the men as they're in port, and evening falls.
Yeah, I'll let them know they'll be here for a few days, so they'll all get a chance to come ashore while we're here. So like, there's nobody like too salty about it. And then I myself will go ashore, intent on finding. It's nighttime now, right? So I'm not going to go trade now. So I'll go and find the alehouse.
What will end? Thrymnir, Kjartan, and Ygritte do?
There might be one salty crew member who draws the long straw as Anthrimir plucks it from between his fingers. And with a
Gulps
look,
down the protest and endures the jibes of his peers.
he'll also go on shore, probably following a few feet behind Ingvar.
Yeah, Egert will keep probably to the left side of her brother, and she's left one knife in her boot where it usually stays.
I think Kjartan's the last. He trails behind, not saying anything, just following the others. The prospect of ale has softened his mood a bit.
I've just told the men to not cause any hassle over here. These are our people, but they're not our people, and so we need to be on our best behavior. Anyone who starts a fight will lose a hand, sort of business.
It's loud and warm when you walk down from the thoroughfare and into the oaken building. Is the dank smell of sweat and sodden thatch in here, and faint hints of recent burning. There's dozens of a grimy, roomy-eyed men sitting around tables, shouting and talking, conversating. A few people play different tunes or whistling, competing with each other across the din. While a half dozen frightened Asblodr thralls move gingerly about the ruckus Isclofin warriors that line the benches in here. The rushes are well turned and dirty, and several mangy hounds stalk about, trying to catch at the rats and crumbs that fall from the reeking tables above. Looking through the swathe of folk between you and this the higher benches where the kegs are set up against, you see several sailors, hardest clofin, lining the benches before you. All bear the knives that adults sport on their belts, and a few have mail or lighter armaments, but none here sport war weapons, or none that you can see anyway. And though the men are loud and threatening, there's no violence or fighting going on, even though you can pick at least three different at least three individual crews, insular, circles or lines on the benches. At the far left of the ale sink, you see a group of men of a similar look, all with dark hair and varying lengths of beards and the same beady, too small eyes. That you and Thrymnir would mark as Maga's sons of Maga the mother, sails her snecker south with the other reavers. Even though she's an aged warrioress, she's a shield maiden, still favoured by Odin. And so are many quarrelsome and troublesome sons. They're not the usual violently rambunctious selves for now, keeping the peace, so to speak. In the middle table, it's headed by a man with a large belly, straw beard, long and tied in braids, sprouting out from his face, though cleanly shaven from his nostrils down to the tip of his chin, which dips off into a second one. And you recognize him, Ingvar, as you were there when Ulveig dealt with Karel the Lowlander, Karel of Zealand, or Karel the Fat. Of his many names, Coin Crow is the most prominent, though few who wish good tradings with it call him that to his face. And his cohort of bright, straw-haired Saarlanders line the benches with him, and are not perhaps, but certainly the most moderate of the proprietors of the custom of this place. At the far right, you see salt-crusted, brutal-looking reavers hunched over their trenches and supping at the mead like pigs at their trough. And you mark them from their colours. Those that sport it over their faded leathers, to be those men of Stigorm. and a few have tabards as well from throat to waist in blue and red with a black slash through the middle. And many know of Stigorn. He swore fealty to the Colbrander. It was the first to betray Golden Fleece, so he endures the jibes and prods at his dishonor for the trade of having the Angel of Death pass over him, essentially. And though he's not wholly trusted, he's proven himself initially in this invasion into Golden Fleece's lands. And his crew of Asblodrs, mixed with opportunistic Isklorfen, sit far to the right from the other two crews. And there are others who line the benches or like stand around empty barrels talking as well, and not so much as an eyelid is battered as you, hard folk, walk in.
Yeah, I'll try and find a place that we can all sit. Or if there's like individuals, like not a crew, like sitting anywhere, I'll like move to where they are and give them like a look of like, up you get, so we can sit here.
Yeah, you can find peons who'll begrudgingly do that, and one of them will be so kind as to drag away his mate before Anthrima breaks his nose, like down into the floor. A bone that he was holding falls from his hand, and he's unconscious, and a couple of the hounds violently like fight to third blood till one triumphantly carries the bone away, and you can find your places at the greasy bench.
I'll sit and order like good food for the crew. Since we're wealthy all of a sudden, we need to have like a good dinner. So like I'll call over like a couple of the serving thralls and order like hot meat and trenchers and things like that.
Yeah, two timid Asblodr maids will take the order and pronounce the cost as 24 hack silver for an exorbitant feast and drink for you and a dozen, like yourselves, and a dozen of your crew. And she'll go back once it's agreed upon to where like the Isklolfen freeman who like owns now this establishment will come over to collect the payment as it's so high. Until like wipe his grimy dirt-caked hands on his apron and like have the drink handed to you personally. Like he'll take it from the ones that are brought up to hand to you. Welcome, my lord. Welcome. And with that like grin that like money lovers get when they see cash being flashed about. And he will like talk up the pork ribs braised in like a cider, like an Asblodr cider sauce, and the honeyed gulls and like roasted dormice that are good here, and the two different types of mead you can see the men swilling from. One is like a watered golden drop, and the other is like fierce and black and heavy.
It all sounds ridiculously like sumptuous to Ingvar, and I think probably most of his crew who like spent most of their time eating like overly salted fish, like dried meat, rusty bread and stuff like that. So it's like probably like almost too rich and delicious, but he wants it all. And so he'll pay the man. He's not trying to make a big scene of it, but he also is trying to make a big scene of it. He's trying to look like he doesn't care about the fact that he's spending a lot of money, but he wants other people to see him looking like he doesn't care that he's spending a lot of money, which is like a complex sort of thing to pull off, but he's trying to like act as if he's always been this wealthy.
As Wotan's Dripnir, you are blessed friend, says Carol the coin crow from his table, calling out, his voice cutting across the din. He waits for a pause in the music before doing so, and he'll raise his horn so that some sloshes over his thumb and down onto the floor where the hounds have been kicked away, and he'll like give you like a Vulpin grin.
Oh, we did okay. All-Father blessed us, as he often does, and they'll raise the horn.
To victory, prosperity, and trade.
To the conquest of this place.
Conquest, shouts one of Maga's sons. What fight do these sheep put up? Odin might wake in the night to go and piss, but surely not to watch what we do here. There's no glory in it. And another man who looks just like him refutes him, completely the opposite.
Glory enough, I suppose. A battle is a battle. Though I agree, we killed a lot of farmers, a lot of old men and green boys. But they're rich.
Yeah, many of the men raise their cups to that and like boast amongst each other at their pillages thus far. Yeah, and soon the food begins to arrive, like hardened bread heated up and then dug out and filled with the cider stew and like big bones with soft flesh falling from it. Dark ale or light, depending on your taste. And certainly not grimy cutlery with which to like sport at the fair. The men cheer and raise their cups to the fallen and to their victory.
Yeah, I would encourage the men to like enjoy themselves while we're here. Since this is a rare occasion that we have the kind of money that we can like sit in an alehouse and like eat their finest. I think Ingvar will enjoy himself, though eat sparingly. He knows like if he eats too greedily, he'll definitely just end up throwing up all the expensive food. He'll wander over or like wander around the tables and stuff and like go and sit with the lowlander if there's space at the bench.
He'll give a tisk and two of his men will like step away to go and grab a drink until he'll like smile. Forgive me if I will not stand, Captain, but I am at my dinner. And he points to like one half harried at plate next to two empty ones.
No, I'll sit. And I'll like climb over the bench and like sit next to him. And I'll like do that sort of like rude gesture where you just do like a come hither sort of with your hands, and like I'm sure like an ale horn will appear, and he'll like have a drink, spilling it into his beard before turning to the lowlander. And I say, you're the man to talk to if I have things to sell, if I have things I want to buy.
Oh, Alvig believed such. I'm curious. Where is he? I see he's men and you, but not my old friend.
He died.
Alas. In battle?
In Holmgang.
He nods. You ride the seahorse now.
I do, among others. But I ride at the front.
Oh, there's danger and glory at the front. No small measure of wealth, too. I see your men eat heartily, and meat, too.
We've been lucky. We've much to sell, thralls, and other things that we've picked up, which we need to buy. Mail, weapons.
I have ring mail from the lowlands, axe heads too, quivers bursting with arrows of fine make, and other war gear this war's thrown up. You could see to my stocks if you wish, or a factor of yours, and he points to like several of your crewmen over at your table, however you wish. And I would see your goods and appraise them, Captain.
Yes.
The coin speaks to me, and he'll raise his cup, the froth swaying from side to side before he drenches his own beard.
In the morning, I think, with clearer heads, we can go through this. I just wanted to make sure you had what I needed.
But first with mead heads, eh? Come, and you'll like gesture, and one of the timid Asblodr will bring over a new ale horn brimming with the dark, fearsome stuff. For sheep, they make good ale here.
Surprisingly good, yes. Good country, I suppose.
And he'll like talk over the mundane matters of like how many thralls, what conditions, things like that, and discuss it while getting drunk with you over that horn, and then allow you from his presence, which is that greasy mercantile way. But all the Isclofan seem to bear him, and he always seems to be carrying cargo for one sum or another, so that reaving him would mean earning the ire of at least a couple of other rivals expecting goods or gear from him. And so like a rat scurries between the wolves. You can free yourself from the man once a drunken bargain is set to be regleaned tomorrow in sobriety. May Wotan and Dona guide you, Black Hand.
And you. And he'll marvel at the strange way that he says the gods' names and shrug. Have a good evening.
At that, two of the tall straw blonde men will come back and retain their place next to him, and he sets to muttering with them. Was there anything you wanted to do, Anthrymnir, or Ygritte, or Kjartan? I see, Taylor. Give me a perception check, please.
It's rather noisy. 9.
Yeah, you hear a great many things. Only a few of them aren't foul or drunkenly spoke. No choice morsels yet, despite your keen hearing. Next to you, Kjartan Solsi the roll will vomit up his pork stew and go to take another helping into a fresh bowl.
I think he would push the man away from him. You've eaten too much already.
The wolf eats itself sick, prepares for the hard night. And he looks a little bit green, like he's going to vomit again, and then stifles it, and then starts helping himself to the pork again.
He would say, "You are no wolf." And he would move away. He'd take his cup and maybe wedge himself between two other men that maybe can hold their liquor and a little bit better.
Yeah, you can sidle up in between Black Ragenvalve and Smiling Tovel, who are discussing the qualities of the Asblodr wenches working the place. Away from the spew.
I think that the Kjartan would think that that's a conversation more to his liking, and he would join the men.
After a time, the captain comes back to take his seat next to you, and Thrymnir, and food is brought out until your men can take it no more, and most will drink themselves to vomiting unless you haul them in.
No, they're good. That's what they're here for. Blow off the steam now, so that they remember it. Next time I have to ask them to row harder.
If you're letting them indulge over a time, you can roll another perception check, Taylor, as you move about trying to eavesdrop at different conversations. Was there anywhere in particular you wanted to eavesdrop, or just in general, just waiting in a static trap to get what you can?
I think anyone else that looks like they might be another reaving crew might have rumors of places less well defended or things that had gone well or poorly. It's a 14 for me.
The Reavers here, or true Reavers, are Maga's sons, who sit at the far left side of the alehouse. So sidling nearer to them, you hear the conversation of two of the brothers, one asking the other, "Where is that cow, Skull the Cursed? He wears that tagged skag's head about his waist. He's still with the Galda, even though the night is long now, still praying for answers for his made dumb son." He hiccups, taking another drink from his cup. "Ah, 'tis folly to bring a man in that condition into the reaving. He'll drown or be killed, mark my words. That Skull's a fool." And his brother chides him and says, "He's no fool, though he is cursed."
Yeah, she kind of makes a note of the name and to bring it up to Ingvar when he's sober.
As for places of weakness, you hear Stigorn of Helagaska talking proudly amongst his men, buoying them that he knows the place well and that it will fall to him, and he'll take back what was his before he was unjustly banished by Golden Fleece, and look now what he has done to the realm. "Worry not, men. We have the right of it to be with the Flame Sower, retake what is ours, and lived as Jarl and Karls should." And he's buoying the men that are set either side down around him, and you can see a few of the Asblodr warriors with him, fervently agree, raising their cups, wanting to reclaim their home. Though the Isklofen crew who are amongst them, you see that wolfish look in their eyes that each one of them imagines only the plunder and the destruction. No nostalgic or sentimental value of the place. And from what Stigorn of Helagaska says, Helagaska would fall easily. Though you don't know the man or his measure, having only seen and heard him tonight for the first times. Through conversation, you would also hear of the place at the middle of that map that I sent to you guys. It's on the southern side of Braggy's Spear. Manavik. Manavik has stone walls about the bailey of that place, and is the greatest stronghold of the Thanes of the East Coast. But all the rest is talk of women or boasts of battle or contests of ale, and the other stupidity of drunk men.
What do we know about Homeland on the southern coast where we are?
Yeah, that's a settlement of similar size, similar size to Helagaska, and trades predominantly with Manavik. It was a place that connected Scully to Manavik before Isbjornsson came here and ripped away Scully.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's similar kind of size, not as big as Manavik, though decent enough to have not fallen yet, and is ruled by the Thane of Manavik. There's the Thane of Manavik and the Thane of Helagaska, and Karls of any other places not yet seized by the Isklofen. If you wanted to know anything more about Homeland, you could ask one of Stigorn or one of his men, as several of them are Asblodr. But I think that would be the only people who would know more about that place in here than you guys collectively.
Ingvar's just thinking about reputation and how he can become a bigger deal, and it's definitely by capturing one of those two places, Manavik or Helgaske. Manavik seems well beyond what he's capable of, but Helgaske, if he allied with another crew, might be possible. So that's what he's kind of thinking as he hears people talking.
I assume that Ygritte brings her reconnaissance back to you by whispers at the bench, so you would hear of Stigorn and his plight to retake the town of Helagaska that he was banished from. So straight away you could mark someone who does want to take Halagaska, but definitely not someone who would want to share it or assist you to have it. And yeah, Homeland is actually a little bit larger than Halagaska, even though Halagaska is like the seat of a thane.
Okay.
But it's by virtue of its attachment to Manavik that it's larger. Though, yeah, as I said before, Manavik's the only one that's walled, like stone walled. I mean, like Fortley.
And the Maga sons are just like, they're reavers like us, right? They're like...
Yep. Maga the mother is like an old shield maiden with a heap of sons, and like she claims some of them are from bears and others are from like carnations of Odin and other like mysterious stories, though likely it's just like brutalist Clofen lovers that she takes over the years. But nonetheless, she always attests that she only wants what's best for her sons, and so she like plies her reaving trade with the whole family show up and down this coast. And has her eyes, they say, of ripping off some hold here in Asblodr for her sons to prosper after her death. She's not here with her sons at the alehouse, though you saw her ship when you pulled in to berth amongst Carol Coincrows, his Bjornsons and others. Yeah, others too far away to recognise because it was night time.
If nobody else wants to do anything, I'll talk to Stigorm.
Similar as the other man, he'll gesture for a couple of his men to sidle down, and he'll like have them clear food and drink cups away from where you would sit, so it's only mildly like fouled. And he'll raise a cup to yours once it's brought over, and mark you as a lord and call you such. And introduce himself as Stigorm of Halagaska, and he says that as if like it will be so.
It's your home, is it?
And my brother, the fool Sigthric, he rules there now, unjustly. By your lord's will, by our lord's will, I shall retake that seat of my father's. Let my black braggart brother fall for his foolery.
So it's your inheritance.
Of course, I am the elder braggy son. My ancestor conquered these lands, and he had to slay 2 brothers to maintain hold of it.
Your ancestor killed kin?
He was forced by his brothers' hands, each of them in their way. But kin killing, he was cursed and blessed by the gods. Blessed that he would have great wealth and land, and that he would always be remembered, and cursed that he would always be remembered for the 2 wrongs he did.
Strange tale. We recently reaved Boar, razed it to the ground, killed all the people there.
You see a flicker across his face like that was a punch in the guts.
Set the elderly to wander naked in the woods until they die.
A few even of his men rankle at that, but the Isklofen amongst them just like shrug and raise their cups like, yeah, well done.
Halagaska would be next on my list, but if you have the right of inheritance, then maybe we can help each other.
Perks up at that. You'd assist me in taking my seat. But at what price, Isklofen?
Money and men. What are the prices there?
Money and men to what end?
To get my own hold somewhere. Halagaska can be yours. You're from this place, you know the people. Although there are no people left in Boar, he'll say with like this disgusting wolf grin. We can populate it with thralls, I suppose.
You would try to take Menavik, even with my forces allied to your own. What, a crew? Between us would not be enough to overtake that place.
Halagaska, I think we could do with 2 crews. This one, and he points behind him at like Antrim, who's probably just like, I don't know, maybe he's like currently like smashing a man's nose. He's about 10 men, and we have many like him. And the people here are soft; they don't fight well. I think we could find a way with your knowledge of the place into Helgaske and take it. Once that's done, you'll give me your men. And your ranks will be swollen by those who live within Helgaske. Once you take it, they'll swear oath to you.
It would seem fair, but I would wonder to know what you would do with these forces, presuming Helgaske falls to us combined.
It will. Odin loves me. I only know victory. After that, I would find my own place. Perhaps Manavik, though I think the walls are too big. There's ruins, eh? Up on the coast?
Dauderstein. It was a Jotunhold. Now ghosts dwell there. Skag spirits and such. None of the folk will go there, but maybe for Skull, since he's already cursed. The who can know with that one. And Manavik's stony walls would keep you out. But Homeland, well, it's well known amongst these parts that Isbjornson has his eyes set on Homeland.
And maybe if I take it, I will sell it to him.
You might not like the payment.
Maybe.
What did you say earlier when I cut over
Yeah.
the topic? Sorry?
Who is this cursed man?
Skull. Skull the Curse, they call him. He married his lover's sister, and to spite him, the Skag cursed him. His wife died in childbirth, and his son has always been dumb. He knows he is cursed, and hopes that male magic can overcome the female magic, and so has come south to find a Galder or singer, who can wring away the madness and stupidity from his son. Truly he is a cursed man, but he too, like Braggy, is blessed as well. His men have done no small pillaging, and there are bright men amongst them. And wolves too. White-pelted Ulfednar from the far north, on the borders of the Scrael. Fearsome in the shield wall. No doubt they freeze their balls off outside the Gothi's hut. Skull prattles with the old man in the hopes that he can help him. Though if I were a wagering man, I'd wager the answer again is no.
I'm not wise in the ways of Seath, but I know that women's magic is stronger than men's.
That's why they gave us the axe.
Yep. He'll raise his horn to that.
I'll think on your words, Blackhand. Now that I am drunk, I'll think long on them, and tomorrow or some other day, I will speak of Helagaska and my birthright.
Good. He'll take out some token from Boar, something small, like a coin or like a necklace or something. He'll put it on the table, and then nod to each of the men at the table and stand.
A couple of the Escolfan warriors will raise their cups to you and nod respectfully as well, those who aren't too drunk to do so. And your crew all seem pretty content to be amongst themselves, drinking and feasting and relaxing.
Yeah, once it kind of starts to get rowdy, I would encourage us to head. Actually, we can probably sleep in here, can we? Is there my hope
There's
is
no room in the commons because of how many people, so you'd have to pay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could.
Okay. Well, I'd certainly pay for the Huskarls to sleep on land in a bed, and the rest of them can pay out of their own money if they want.
Or sleep on the ship.
Or sleep on the ship.
So the new owner of this place gets a bit more coin from these drunken men. Yeah. Rooms can be organised for you. The prices are doubled, which will put it at 1.5 hack silver each. So there's 5 Huskarls, so 7.5 hack silver. And you sleep in a fairly clean and fairly louse-free straw pallet with infinitely more comfort than you've experienced over the last weeks.
Yeah, perfect.
quite easy to fall asleep in the comfortable bed with a full belly and the sound of the sea outside pounding the rocks of Rauda Cliffa. And so you all sleep peacefully. You sleep peacefully and deep and dreamless, each of you, all the way through. But for an hour after dawn, just before you wake, Ingvar, you dream of a woman, golden-haired, laying on a slab of ice, playing at a harp, nestled at her belly, while 3 polar bears swim in awkward triangle about the slab. You awake, and silence, the Scrael thrall is there, with fare and food and drink, and the things you'd requested be done at daybreak. And he kind of reels back as your eyes shoot open and you breathe heavily, and then looks back quickly down to his work. Will not meet eye contact again as he expertly carries out your threshed clothes, fresh ale, and like some food on a wooden pallet. He'll take like the bucket that you vomited in last night and go and empty it out the window. You can hear some of Skolfen like shouting up Norsk swear words as it trails away.
Yeah, he'll reach up and grab the amulet for a second and then like stand. He'll like without putting on clean clothes, like walk down and outside into the courtyard and like dunk his head into like one of the barrels of standing water, and like fling back his long hair and like shake like a dog and attempt to wash himself, and then go back inside and like dry himself and put on the clean clothes. He'll go around then to the rest of the people who stayed here, and just like loudly like bang on their doors until they get up.
And from where answers the door at the very first knock.
He's not expecting that. He's probably not even looking at the door. He's like walking down the hall, just like boom, 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 boom on each different door. And as he like boom, the door opens, he'll just like look. We're going.
Give you a curt nod, look around about the room. He's not left anything there, but he's just to be sure. Step out and follow you as you continue to bang on doors.
Up, garden.
Harding will like force the door in and take a pail of water and like throw it over you, shocking you awake, Kjartan.
He probably he's like he shakes the water. Look of anger on his face as he looks at the man. I'm up.
Not quick enough. Let's go.
Oh, he grabs his head as he rolls out of the pallet. Grabs his meager gear.
Yeah, and he'll go down and like bang on everybody's door and then finally like Ygritte. Yep.
I'm up. Fuck off.
Hurry up. And then he'll like make his way outside and like stretch a little bit in the sort of like cold and crisp courtyard as like all people are walking by and it's like busy, and he's like trying to find the fat-bellied ship of the Lowlander. He'll send like Harding back to the ship to like gather or get people to bring the thralls that we're going to sell, as well as like much of the equipment that we're going to sell ashore.
Could you just quickly send me a message or paste into the chat all the things that you want to sell, my lord?
Yeah, 1 sec.
And is there anything that you guys wanted to do if Ingvar's going to the Lowlander in the morning at Rauda Clouder? Did you guys want to go along or do something else or back to the ship?
I think Kjartan would drift away from the others. He would go find a jut of rock that overlooks the sea. He would pull out of this this small sack that he carries it's a bit of loaf of bread that he has wrapped in this mostly clean linen cloth. He would unpack it and lay it out on the rock as he just sits there, waiting for the raven to come. And when it does, he just begins to talk to it as though it truly could understand him, because he believes it does. And he just regales the experience at the Volva hut and the altar of the Jarl's defamation of no
Desecration.
desecration. Thank you. I was going to say defiling of the altar to Brand. So he just does that to settle himself as the bird just kind of hungrily pecks at the loaf of bread.
Cool.
And Primrose sent word to have Ranald brought with the flaes. He's undecided whether or not he wishes to sell them, but the option should be there.
Please, he'll plead, like when he realizes what's happening. Please don't sell me, Lord. I'll serve you. I'll earn my freedom, Lord, I swear. Please. The Sealanders, they take us across the straits, and this servitude I know. Gestured at his manacles and then to you.
He's pleading and or simply ignores him. He continues to look around, taking in the sights, almost as this man's words rather, just washing over him like waves. The small waves.
Yeah, he'll fall in with the other with the 14, becoming the 15th. As like the soldiers like corral this grim procession down towards the fat-bellied ship of Carol Coincrow and his crew of straw-blonde, bright mailmen. He'll like walk down the gangway towards you after seeing to his ship in the morning. None the worse for wear, given his excess the night before, unlike some of your crew. And he'll like walk up and down the folk and gear stacked in front of his ship, appraising it and pulling back the lips of thralls to see at their teeth, or like pulling up further open eyelids and looking around them for signs of like disease or malaise. Fine price. These women will fetch across the sea, Blackhand.
Most have proven fertility, and the others are maidens still.
But there'll be plenty more of their like when the 3 holds fall finally. And then I would have paid too much for what I could buy 3 times as much then.
But they haven't fucking fallen yet.
True. But at a wager on that at hand, I'll give you 100 each for these 10. 90 for this man, he points to Ranald. 75 for the children and the old rest. Say you to that.
Ingvar looks behind him at Anthrimnir, who's probably like not involved in this conversation, but he looks at him like, this guy, can you believe this? And he puts a finger in his ear and will like pull something out of it and like flick it away. Are you shitting in my ear? Is that what that noise is? I don't believe it. When those holes fall, it'll be me who's first through those gates, and it'll be me who brings you more thralls. You remember this face. Lowlander. I will be the one who brings you those thralls. Good to start things on a good footing, I think.
He smiles. True, that is true. What think you appropriate then?
Now, these women, we say 120 each. The children are worth at least 100, and you know that. All girl children. Valuable, especially for you perverted Southlanders, I imagine.
He like scoffs disdainfully, but a couple of his male like bodyguards just smirk grossly between each other.
And it's like not meant as an insult, more as like a joke. And then he like would like look at the man. This man can read words, and he's good with numbers.
Floki like takes a double look at Ranald and then to you to see if there's any like hint of lying on your face, and he sees none, and so says 150 for the man.
That's for the old. I cannot sell them for less than 90. If you don't want to buy them, I'll simply kill them.
He shrugs. I can go no higher than 75 for the elderly.
You can go a little higher than 75. You can go to 80.
He leaves that unanswered with a yes. These narwhal horns can fetch a mighty price in Gunland. If I can get them there, your man's made it hard for that. Still, they might fetch a decent price at the King's Isles. When I head there after winter, I'll give you 50 hack silver for each.
Horns of a sea monster. 50 hack silver. They must grow on trees where you're from.
We have no narwhals in the lowlands. They dwell only in the fearsome places, north.
Then your farmers must pull them out of the ground somehow that you think that they are worth 50.
Ah, Blackhand, you are shrewd. Very well. 70 for each.
He'll spit in his hand and like shove it forward, thinking like, okay, that's a deal. I don't want to like solidify it now.
He'll take the oath of spit, appraise the Hardranger harp, and he will offer you 200 hack silver for it, which is near exorbitant for what is essentially like a musical instrument.
That makes me want to not sell it. Ingvar would like look at it then, like thinking like he knows that he's not a clever man or like not a worldly man, and so he wonders like, is there something about this thing that makes it so valuable that he doesn't understand? But he also doesn't want to say like, why do you want to pay so much for this thing? Because he doesn't want to not get the money. Deal.
He'll nod and then appraise the animals. He will offer 148 hack silver for all of the animals.
Yeah, 150. Come on. What are you doing here?
He'll nod too quickly. And then look down at the weapons and equipment that you've heaped and offer you 50 hack silver, noting that many of them are notched or are ill-used, or some even still have blood, and he squeezes the hilt to prove the point, and a couple of like murky drops splatter free.
Afraid of a little blood. That doesn't surprise me at all about you, Lowlander. But you're trying to fuck me in the ear. There's no way that it's worth so little. I was generous with the animals, generous with the harp. Now you be generous with these weapons.
100, and the exchange will happen this morning. We go to the Gothi and see the deal, witness between the gods and men.
He thinks about it for a second. He wants to do it, but he takes a little bit longer to think about it and like chews his lip a little. All right, deal.
600 hack silver plus what was agreed for the thralls, which escapes me now, but would not have escaped my lord.
Yeah.
And with that done, he'll have it like scribbled down by one of his men, and then go with not armed, but with escort with you towards the Galder's hovel. You can see like a stag antlers being placed there, rung with vertebrae beads, like that string down as like a mangy, like half effective curtain into the wooden pyramidic building. And he'll wait outside with his men and yours after you've banged a couple of times. You can hear like dulled argument coming from within, so not argument, I should say, but loud voice yelling and anger. And the door flies open, and a man with like short cropped black hair and like a fleck of grey up to his right widow peak, scars about his face. Quite a tall man, though not disproportionate or lanky. He wears like polar bear or snow bear cloak from shoulder to boot at his back, and it flutters as he like flings his hand in like a dismissive manner over his head, red with anger. You've wasted my time and my coin. And he like goes to stomp free and like sees you men and looks at the war, like the mail or way that you carry yourselves, marking you as captains or carls or jarls, and collects himself for a moment. He's all yours for the good he'll do you. And the man like trumps off down the rise towards the bay.
Ingvar doesn't know who that is, but he's amused at the man's like lack of self-control, and he'll smile at it.
You'd also note too, the man had a shrunken female head attached by a braid to his belt, and the skin, though sallow and partially rotted, was like tarred or sapped.
Skull, then, is it? We had been told that Skull had a...
You'd assume so. A skag's head, his first lover's head at his belt still.
Well, he's cursed. So then knowing that, the grin will sort of fade and he'll reach up and kiss the amulet around his neck.
Nico, I'm not sure if you have seen the chat. Chex was going to ask Reynolds some questions about the prices that guy was naming.
Oh, I haven't seen that. If Ranald thinks that's going to be a good price to sell him at, he would say, "No, of course not, Lord. I'm more worthy to you than 150 hack silver." But it's like, I don't know if you believe it or not. It's like the pleading of a desperate thrall, who's certainly not going to say, "Yeah, yep, that's a good price. You should take it and sell me for it."
I was going to shove him forward to prove his worth. But we're beyond that stage now, so sucks to be him.
If that's the case, if you would have urged him, he would have whispered to you, fearful to speak out against Carol Coincrow in front of him. But he would have whispered out that he thought it strange that the man would pay such a price for a simple harp, and that really those animals were worth more.
Well, I'll pass that on the way to the Goffy's hut to Ingvar then.
Yeah, I mean, he gets the impression, like Ingvar gets the impression that he has been like battered in that negotiation, but also like that's not his job. He's not a professional merchant like this lowlander is, and also like they're so much richer than they were after selling those things. Even if they sold them at bad prices, they've like massively increased their wealth. And so like Ingvar is like, if I make a few bad deals and get the reputation with Coincrow that I'm a person who sells things, that's probably worthwhile. He'll like say as much to Antrimnir. I don't know the value of animals, farm things. I don't know the value of a fucking harp. The value that I can see, though, is that we are many hundreds of hack silver richer than we were before I started talking to the man. Let him think that he's clever.
man with a hide headband wrapped about his forehead that dyed beads hang from, obscuring his eyes, but not his black lips and sharpened teeth, steps from under the antlered skull atop his hovel, pushing aside the vertebraic curtains to stand before you. My lords, apologies. How may I assist you on this Thor's day?
We've sales to make and a deal to be struck. Want it witnessed.
Of course, I will hear the bargain. And Carol expertly, almost melodically, and certainly methodically litanizes all the details of the transaction as it was discussed at the jetty, and then looks to you to see if there'll be any alteration to that before the Gothi will swear it witnessed by the gods.
Gothi, can you see things beyond? I know some of you can. We found some things, and I wonder if you could tell me something about them.
I see only what the gods let me see. And he shakes his beads free. And you can see that both of his eyes have been scooped out or lost along the way. And just gross sockets are there underneath the beads, making that visor useless. But who can know the way of these men, touched and often so close to the gods? I would see them, but for a price.
Of course. And he'll gesture with his chin to bring forth the strange things that we had found, including the harp, but also the helmet, the spear, the hammerhead, there was something else.
Hear it.
He'll look at these things, marveling at a few of them and hissing as if they're enemies at others, and put them down after a time and say, I must see these at my place at the appropriate time and light. And he mutters something to himself that's incomprehensible. What of the bargain? And he points to Carol, who you can see as his hands upon his ample hips, looking at the between the two.
What do you think the value of the harp is, Gothi?
It has no value to one who can play it. To one cannot. It is useless.
Yeah, Ingvar grins at that. That's exactly how he feels about it. What good is a harp to me? 200 hack silver I can use. I accept the deal.
Carol will smile. And he'll place his hand down to be woven with a stinking band. The Gothi intones something incomprehensible, and then orates that inside of Thor and Odin and law-giving Tyr, that this bargain is struck in truth and honest intent, and that Ingvar Blackhand will be paid 600 pieces of hack silver and the appropriate amount of hack silver for the thralls by one Carol of Zealand. And Zealand nods, as you do in turn, and then the Gothi will unwind the stinking band. Carol will turn to you as his thralls and warriors burst into activity to go and take these goods on board, and one of them will bring him 2 large sacks filled with the coin, 1,400 hack silver, give or take. Or not give or take, sorry, minus 140 hack silver, which is the tithe owed Lord Berkthgar. Is Bjornsson. Is handed over to you, and the transaction is completed after being witnessed of the subsequent minutes. You're ushered in by the Gothi yourself, and Thrymnir, Kjartan, and Ygritte into his stinking hovel. And there's bones and detritus and rubbish and trash. It's like a junkie's den inside here. Strange skulls, eyeless Avarian skeletons, look down from the shelves as the blind man totters about, putting his hands over these things. You've brought them, and after muttering to himself incomprehensibly, oft times he'll stop and ask you to describe the look or some feature of these things that he gleans and mutters to himself over. He has no idea what the Tibison that you found amongst the grime is, Ygritte, and so hands it back after long inspection. The Sjohestur crafted hammerhead with the Odin symbol in it, is graven with this rune for protection. And so when wielded, it would need a haft obviously placed into it. But when wielded, gives the wielder, once attuned, +1 to spell saves while wielding the hammer, which is a warhammer. The garrote, he declares, is the needful braid, or Ran's needful braid. It's woven with oceanic fetishes and whale's baleen. It is a +1 garrote. The spear, he like stops and like stutters for a moment, looking to the northeast. Well, not looking, but turning his head to the northeast, and then back to you, Ingvar. This is the kin killer's spear, Bragi Bragison's spear, the spear who wounded and founded this land, Golden Fleece's place. And he'll like hold it up with like two hands, looking at the not looking, turning his head to it and raising his fingers up and down the shaft, admiring with touch the fine craft of the weapon. An old thing, a strong thing, but a bloody thing too. Mechanically, this is a +1 boar spear. Has +2. It's a +2 weapon when used against fraternal kin. He tells you that the blade is cursed and that it fosters hatred amongst kith of the wielder. The necklace is Ward of the Deep Teeth, and when worn, amphibious creatures will not predate you unless provoked. The Haddranger harp is played by the water sprites and sea trolls so beloved of Ran, and that used expertly by a skald would raise the DC of that wielder's spell save by 1 for charisma and wisdom based spell saves.
Holy moly! I think Ingvar like chuckles when he like realizes what spear he has, and like the power of that.
And yeah, then he hisses and tisks at the Tibison, handing it back to you, Egret, declaring that he doesn't know what it is.
Is the helm just like black iron? It's not magical or fancy or anything.
Oh, it is a dread helm of black iron and gives the wielder +2 to intimidation when worn, in addition to the regular effects of the Spangle helm.
Yes, yes.
I forgot also the birch wand. And he has no idea what that is either. The birch wand graven with trees. He's not sure of that or the Tibison, though the rest he will tell you the tales of.
So Ingvar will thank him and pay him the appropriate amount.
He would request 9 hack silver and 1 for Berkthgar and a secret, and he'll put his dark-nailed hands up, cupping over his ear towards your mouth, forcing you maybe to awkwardly look sidelong at your companions.
Yeah, he'll look, and he will. Yeah, he'll lean down and tell the man a secret. This probably has happened before. It's the kind of thing that like a Galdor or a witch would ask for. I would imagine that he told Yrsa many a secret throughout their time together.
He'll nod, like smiling with his pointed teeth, sitting back onto his mat after the transaction is completed, and like turns his head slightly to the northeast again as you commence to picking up the gear, and back out into the light of morning, out of the stink and rubbish strewn Galdor hut.
I would want to speak with the Jarl since we're here. It's also worth considering talking to that braggy son that I spoke to yesterday, Steogorm, I think. But I've been doing a lot, so if you guys want to do anything.
Is Ranald included in the froze that get sold?
Yeah.
Was, okay.
Unless you protest.
I wasn't sure if that was included in the deal because he's technically, I guess
Your thrall.
Yeah.
So you'd be
Worth
owed the
possession.
150 minus 15 for Berchtgarson.
Yeah, so if it came time to tie the cord and do the oath, Anthemir would respect it.
And so keep Ranald for now as thrall.
Yeah, yeah.
He'll fall to his knees and thank you while the women and children and elderly are led towards Carol Coincrow's hole.
Ægir will raise an eyebrow at you. You're keeping it.
I think he keeps it. I think he thinks it's a pet.
Gerson, your jokes aren't any funnier today than they were last week.
They are to me. He laughs at himself. He laughs at his own joke.
And she'll just kind of shrug at Anthemir. Your thrall, your choice. Doesn't seem terribly useful.
He'll just return a shrug at that.
Yeah, so there's only one guard outside of the wooden palisade ringed around Isbjornson's holdfast that like sits atop that mound looking down over the Rauderkluffer. And he's the mute champion of Berchtgar. You see him there in my overlay. And his tension is pretty clear when he reaches out, gesturing towards the long knives at your belts. We'll take even those before allowing you into his lord's sanctum. He just kind of thunders along, all 6'4" of him, slowly towards the great doors, and we'll like put meaty hand up to push it inwards. And inside, you can see a few people. Inside, one older lady is at weaving, while thralls are like sweeping at the place. Ice Eyes, they call him, Isbjornson, is sitting at the head of the table, talking with two men dressed in mail but weaponless, while they pick at fare on wooden plates before them, talking even with mouthfuls, quite in a relaxed manner between themselves as the other people in the hall are set to their work. He looks up briefly, but then does a double take once he sees his champion lumbering in with you folk. And he'll like raise a hand slightly and gesture to the other men who like quieten their talk. And the champion will like step up just like a step in front of you guys and give like a garbled grunt to Ice Eyes and then turn slowly back to regard you. I'm Berchtgar Isbjornsson. Welcome to my hold. You are Ulveg's man, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, Jarl. The Ulveg is no longer with us.
He's dead then.
He is.
Well, the man died with no debts to me, so I'll speak no ill of him. Skull, and the men will drink like the watered breakfast beer in tandem. And they like put it down, not bothering to wipe the froth from his golden mustache. Just regards you with his icy eyes.
I am Ingvar Balderson, called Blackhand. Jarl. I thought it'd be best if I introduced myself and paid homage. Since we've been reaving, we've come and we've paid tithe, but I thought it'd be best to meet you.
Well, you are well met, but you will forgive me, and I must ask, who is that outlaw? And he like stubs a finger in the direction of your sister.
So I do have my little cloak pulled up, so I'm trying to hide that brand.
Yeah, you can't see it at the moment in this hall, but between yesterday evening and today, you assume he has been told. There's no way he can see it right now.
Damn. Yeah, Ægir will shift uncomfortably.
He thinks about lying, but decides that's not appropriate. She's my sister, Jarl.
Yeah. We do not choose family. And he like pokes at the meat on his plate, but we do choose the crime. What was it, woman? And he chews at his food casually. The other men look between their lord and to you.
It was no crime against you, Jarl.
That is for certain. I do not brand. And he swallows.
He'll speak quietly under his breath. It's not what he asked you. Answer the question.
What does this Jarl do with outlaws? I'm wondering if
You think from what he made it
know.
kills them.
I guess Kjartan would shift kind of uneasily on his feet when she doesn't answer the Jarl's question directly.
Shall I call for the Gelder and have your flesh red, woman? Speak. And he'll like probe at another piece of morsel on his plate.
It was murder, Jarl.
Ah. He looks to you, Ingvar, for confirmation.
Yeah, he'll nod.
Well, I'll have no murder here. He points his knife towards you. I'll have your oath on that. And yours, he says to you, Ingvar.
Freely given, Jarl. We've caused no trouble so far and have no intent of doing so.
I too give my oath.
Save it for the sheep, he says. Well enough. I accept, and you've my oath. Hospitality. And he'll like call to one of the thralls who will bring food and drink now. And the mood seems much more relaxed than it had previous. And he'll even like raise like a big broad hand for you four Huskarls to take your place against his amidst his bondsmen. I'm glad you have come, and I see you have coin there. A tithe?
Yeah, I'll give him a gift of one of the... would we have a time to get... No, wouldn't have time to have them reforged.
Yeah, this is about just before midday of the next day, so...
Yeah, I'll give him the narwhal horn as like a gift.
He'll take it, and he'll gesture over towards the woman at her left on the loom. And my aunt, she knows how to graven the sacred symbols. This could be a fine thing. I thank you, Black Hand.
Oh, we're grateful for hospitality.
He'll take it in two hands and hand it to one of the men seated at his right, who will like take it from the table to go and like place it amongst his goods. As the man like goes to leave, and he'll look to you. How's your time fared here in Rauderklauter?
Not so bad. Quite a welcoming place, actually. Got fucked by the Lowlander, but I assume that's rite of passage here.
He nods. The coin crow is carrion when gold wealth is spilt. But he trades in more than goods, and a wise captain does well to remember that. And it's not thralls neither, but secrets. And he punctuates that with the knife before going to prod at something on his plate. That tip is free, but ties for business here are not, he says, not looking up from his fare.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay on his good side. I think it might be wise to do so. But I appreciate the advice. I came, as I have unsurprisingly ambitions, and I don't want to step on any toes, certainly not yours. I'm young.
Wise as well as young, he says, chewing.
Maybe. I just have manners, I think. And he'll shrug. I know that things are earned, and age deserves respect. But also, reputation has to be gotten somehow. I don't want to jump ahead of anyone. I don't want to cause any trouble. It's a delicate situation that we have here with all of these reaving crews. A lot of angry men with big weapons and big egos.
Too many wolves, not enough pigsties. And he'll finally like swallow the last bit of the meal and push his plate away and rest the knife down on it.
That's what I thought too. Stigorm has plans. And I thought to maybe help him achieve those, but I wanted to see if that was something that aligns with your ideas.
He shrugs. You're not sure if it's truthful or not. I care little for Stigorm. He's a soft southern kneeler. He muled before the flame sower, and so he's let him join us. That does not make him one of us. Tell me, do you think the Norns would give that one his holdfast back in the midst of so many greater wolves? And his face becomes expressionless at this as he eyes you bluely.
No, I don't think that they would, but I think they would give it to me. Though it's his by
Stigorm for it, he says casually.
It's his by right of inheritance, and if we take it, it should go to him, I suppose.
Uthal pisses on southern deeds and Sjohestur seals. It's true enough. Stigorm makes no secret of it that he wishes Helagaska. And if you wish to help him, well, you are a captain. Every captain is a jarl on his ship. Though all wish for their part. Even that old whore, Mother Mag, and all of her git, she would have a place for her and her piglets. And Skoll, even though he's cursed, he's blessed too. He would have a hold fast. I am for Holmland. I make no secret of this. Charge any man who disagrees to challenge me openly at that.
That's what I was going to ask. I'll not go there then. He'll say with like a sort of grin. What of the ruins? They're open for anyone, I suppose.
Yeah. I think only seals live there amongst the seagull shit and ghosts. I'm a godly man. I'll not offend the dead. I care not for it, though it's not my place to say. I'll say it, as it's my hold. A warning for free against any who go treading around the stones of the dead. But truly I have no desire here. Beyond Homeland, he says, in a way that you know that that's a lie, but not a mean-spirited lie.
And if, let's say, Helgaska was taken and a fight broke out between two crews far away here from your place of law, I suppose it wouldn't be a problem. Suppose that some southern Eeler dies in a home gang, wouldn't be a problem.
Some southerner dies. Shakes his head. It's no problem to me. As long as it's not on the southern stretch, which is like the colloquial term from Raudklaufer to Homeland, then I care not.
Good. Excellent. Well, I've taken up enough of your time.
I'll need men in the taking of that bay at Homeland. I'd pay silver too. Maybe thralls gotten from the place to sea wolves who'd help me.
If we can stand in an interesting part of the line, his reputation I want more than I want silver. Though I won't turn up my nose to silver, he'll say quickly and with a smile.
Before winter, I will take that place. And remember well the friends and gift them who helped me in it. And recognize what I've claimed is mine.
Well, you can count on my support and my help when the time comes. I'll be glad to stand with you in the spear den.
He nods. You have a tide for my lord, says one of the men at his side.
A what? A tithe?
Tithe.
Didn't we not just pay him? Like
Oh,
we
sorry,
paid-
I thought you just gave him the gift. I didn't realize you'd paid him as well.
Oh yeah, okay. So we gave him the gift, but we took the money out of the money for thralls and stuff. Do we have to give it to him personally? Is that what it is?
Or to one of his representatives. If you
Yeah,
factored
okay.
for it with your loot, then we'll consider it paid, and we'll just retcon that.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, well, we can hand it to him, so we could have it ready or whatever, and place it on the table and slide it across. I just thought we were getting strong-armed again, and I was like, "Oh man, I thought we paid this."
No, as Bjorn's not like that. Yeah, well, if you make it your intent to leave, he'll not stop you. And thank you for the tithe and for your manners, referencing your own words. And you can leave his icy blue stare behind the closed doors as you leave.
Yeah, there's a plan forming in Ingvar's brain of cursed weapons and a taking of Helgaskar and becoming Thane of a place himself, or Jarl, as we would say. It's forming kind of slowly in his brain.
And so over the next 3 days, your men rotate in some comfort between the ale sink in town of Rauderkloffer and the deck of the Sjohestur, and enjoy some more measure of comfort now than they did under Olveg, and they'll thank you for it. And the comfort and rest is well enjoyed as the days pass, but eventually the sea and adventure calls, and we'll see to where it calls next fortnight. When we play next session, we'll finish it up now, I think.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks very much. If you watched, see you next time.